The glass shattered against marble with a sound like breaking teeth. Chen didn't flinch. 3 years tending bar at the Chrysanthemum Club had taught her that powerful men broke things when words failed them. Glasses, furniture, occasionally bones. She just reached for the dustpan, her movements efficient and invisible, the way she'd trained herself to be. But she'd seen what was in that glass before it flew. She'd seen the lipstick stain on the rim. Deep crimson. Not the nude shade Mrs. Kang wore. And she'd seen his face when he noticed it too. Kang Dae-Jung sat alone in the private booth overlooking the main floor, his back straight despite the hour, despite the whiskey, despite the fact that his wife hadn't come home in 3 nights. The city sprawled below them through floor-to-ceiling windows, Seoul glittering like scattered diamonds against velvet darkness. At 2 a.m. the Chrysanthemum Club belonged to insomniacs and criminals. Often the same people. Mia swept the glass into the pan, acutely aware of his stillness. He hadn't moved since throwing it. Hadn't ordered another drink. Just sat there in his immaculate charcoal suit, hands folded on the table, staring at nothing with eyes that had gone somewhere cold and distant. She should leave him alone. Every instinct screamed at her to disappear back behind the bar, to be furniture again, to let whatever was happening in his marriage stay his business. But then she remembered the photos. The ones currently burning a hole in her apron pocket. The ones she'd found 2 hours ago in the private restroom, dropped carelessly beside the sink by a woman who'd been too drunk or too careless to notice she'd left evidence behind. Photos that showed Mrs. Kang, elegant, untouchable Mrs. Kang, wrapped around another man in positions that left nothing to imagination. Mia had recognized the woman immediately. Everyone who worked at the Chrysanthemum knew the boss's wife. Knew to treat her like royalty, knew never to mention when she came in with men who weren't her husband, knew that seeing too much could be hazardous to one's health. But Mia had also seen Kang Dae-Jung. Seen the way he looked at his wife when she deigned to visit. Like she was oxygen and he was drowning. Seen him wait alone in this booth, night after night, checking his phone with the desperate hope of a man who still believed in miracles. Seen the exact moment each night when hope died and he'd order another whiskey, his jaw tight with the effort of not breaking. He was a monster. Everyone knew that too. The Kang family controlled half of Seoul's underground, protection rackets, shipping operations, nightclubs like this one that laundered money through overpriced cocktails. He'd killed men. Probably more than Mia could count. His reputation was built on ruthlessness, on a willingness to destroy anyone who threatened what was his. But he'd also slipped her a 500,000 won tip last month when he'd overheard her on the phone with the hospital about her grandmother's surgery. He'd never asked for anything in return. Never even mentioned it again. Just left the money on the bar with a single sentence in English, his accent careful. Family is everything. And now his family was destroying him from the inside, and Chen, invisible bartender, nobody from nowhere, held the proof in her pocket. She could throw the photos away. Pretend she'd never seen them. Let him live in ignorance while his wife made a fool of him across Seoul's most exclusive hotels. Or she could do what every ounce of common sense told her was insane. Mia's hand slipped into her apron pocket. The photos were still warm from her body heat. 5 of them. Damning. Explicit. Time-stamped from earlier tonight at the Plaza Hotel. Her father's voice echoed in her memory, rough with the wisdom of a man who'd survived China's streets before immigrating to Korea. When you see someone drowning, Mia, you throw them a rope. Maybe they pull themselves up. Maybe they pull you down. But you throw the rope anyway. That's what makes you human. She'd been 8 years old. They'd been watching a man beat his dog in an alley, and her father had intervened despite being half the man's size. He'd come home with a black eye and the dog. The dog had lived with them for 12 years. Her father had been dead for 5. But the lesson remained. Mia picked up the dustpan, walked to Kang Dae-Jung's table, and did the most dangerous thing she'd ever done in her life. She set the photos face down on the marble surface, her hand steady despite her racing heart. "I found these in the restroom, Mr. Kang," she said quietly in Korean, her accent betraying her Chinese origins. "I thought you should have them before anyone else did." Then she turned and walked away, not running, not looking back, her pulse thundering in her ears. Behind her, silence. The kind of silence that preceded violence. She made it 3 steps before his voice stopped her. "Wait." Not loud. Not angry. Just hollow. Mia turned slowly. Kang Dae-Jung hadn't moved. Hadn't touched the photos. His hands remained folded on the table, but his knuckles had gone white with tension. "Did you look at them?" he asked, still not meeting her eyes. Honesty seemed safer than lies. "Yes, sir." "Who else has seen them?" "No one. They were on the floor by the sink. I picked them up immediately." Finally he looked at her. And the devastation in his eyes made her chest ache. This wasn't the face of Seoul's most dangerous gangster. This was just a man whose world had shattered, trying desperately to hold the pieces together with hands that suddenly didn't work. "Why?" His voice cracked on the word. "Why give these to me?" "Because you loved her," Mia thought. "Because you waited for her every night like a fool. Because even monsters deserve to know when they're being betrayed." But what she said was, "Because you deserved to know the truth." He finally reached for the photos with movements that seemed to take tremendous effort. "Turn the first one over." His breath stopped. She watched his face go through a journey of emotions: shock, denial, rage, anguish, before settling into something cold and carved from stone. He looked through all 5 photos with clinical detachment, his expression revealing nothing. When he finished, he set them down in a neat stack and looked at Mia with eyes that had become obsidian. "Do you know who I am?" he asked quietly. "Yes, sir." "Do you know what I'm capable of?" "Yes, sir." "Then you understand that giving me these photos has made you part of this. Part of whatever happens next." It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact. And Mia felt the weight of it settle over her like a shroud. "I understand," she whispered. Kang Dae-Jung studied her for a long moment, and she had the unsettling sensation of being catalogued, assessed, filed away in whatever system he used to categorize the world into assets and threats. "What's your name?" he asked. "Your real name, not what your badge says." "Chen Meiling. I go by Mia." "How long have you worked here, Mia?" 3 years. "And in those 3 years you've seen things. Heard things. Things that could get you killed if you talked about them." Not a question. "Yes." "But you've never talked." "No, sir." "Why not?" "Because talking would mean losing this job, and this job pays for grandma's medicine and the apartment and the dream of maybe someday going back to school. Because invisible people survive longer than visible ones. Because silence is safety." "But," she said, "because other people's business isn't mine." Something flickered across his face. Approval maybe. Or recognition. "Name your price," he said. Mia blinked. "Excuse me." "For the photos. For your silence. For your loyalty." He pulled out his phone, fingers moving across the screen. "Everyone has a price. Name yours." The casual way he reduced her choice to a transaction stung more than it should have. As if kindness could only exist if it was purchased. As if doing the right thing required compensation. "I don't want money," she said, her voice harder than intended. His eyebrows lifted slightly. "Everyone wants money. I want my grandmother to have the surgery she needs. I want to not worry about rent. I want." She stopped, surprised by the words trying to escape. "I want to matter. Just once. I want to be more than invisible." The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Kang Dae-Jung set his phone down and looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time. Not as furniture or staff or a convenient tool, but as a person. His gaze traveled over her face, her cheap uniform, the exhaustion she couldn't quite hide, the determination carved into the set of her jaw. "You matter," he said quietly. "What you just did. Giving me these instead of selling them to the highest bidder. That matters. I didn't do it for praise. I know. That's why it matters." He stood, and the movement was fluid despite the whiskey, despite the devastation. He towered over her, all controlled power and dangerous elegance in his perfectly tailored suit. "Your grandmother's surgery. What does she need?" "I can't." "What does she need, Mia?" The command in his voice made her answer before she could think better of it. "Kidney transplant. She's been on the list for 2 years, but without private insurance she'll never reach the top. She'll have it by next week. Best surgeons in Seoul. Private room. Full recovery care." Mia's breath caught. "Mr. Kang, I can't accept." "You already have." He pulled out a business card, scrawled something on the back. "This is my private number. You will call me if anyone asks about these photos. You will call me if anyone threatens you. You will call me if anything feels wrong." He pressed the card into her hand, his fingers warm against her palm. "Do you understand? Why are you doing this?" Because you were brave enough to give me truth when you could have sold me lies. His jaw tightened and she saw the fury he was holding back with iron control. And because I'm going to need someone I can trust in the days ahead. Someone who isn't part of this world. Someone who won't betray me for a better offer. You don't know me. I know enough. He glanced at the photos and something terrible moved across his face. You saw her with him. In these pictures. Do you know who the man is? Mia had looked. Had studied the man's face trying to place him. European features, late 30s, expensive watch. No, sir. His name is Viktor Romanov. Russian bratva. Arms dealer. My wife's. He stopped, the word seeming to choke him. My wife's lover. The way he said lover made it sound like executioner. He's also the man who killed my father. The revelation landed like a bomb. Mia's mind raced, trying to process the implications. His wife wasn't just cheating. She was sleeping with his family's enemy. The man responsible for his father's death. This wasn't betrayal. This was warfare. Oh my God, Mia whispered. God has nothing to do with this. Kang Dae-Jung gathered the photos, slid them into his jacket pocket. This is business. This is survival. This is. His voice dropped to something raw and broken. This is what happens when you love someone more than they deserve. Before Mia could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his entire demeanor changed. The vulnerability vanished, replaced by cold, calculated fury. She's here, he said. My wife just walked into the lobby. Mia's stomach dropped. Mr. Kang. Go back to the bar. Serve other customers. Pretend this conversation never happened. He looked at her and the intensity in his gaze made her shiver. And Mia? Thank you. For the rope. He walked away before she could ask what he meant. Mia returned to the bar on shaking legs, her heart hammering. She busied herself washing glasses, trying to look normal, trying to be invisible again. But she couldn't stop watching. Wife's entrance. The confrontation. Kang Soo-jin entered the Chrysanthemum Club like she owned it. Which technically she did. 34 years old, Seoul National University educated, from a family whose money predated the Korean War. She wore a white Chanel dress that probably cost more than Mia's annual salary, her dark hair swept up in an elegant chignon, diamond earrings catching the low light. She was breathtaking. She was also 4 hours late and reeking of expensive cologne that definitely wasn't her husband's. Mia watched from behind the bar as Soo-jin made her way to her husband's booth, her heels clicking against marble with the confidence of someone who'd never faced consequences. She slid into the seat across from Dae-Jung with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Darling, Soo-jin said in Korean, her voice carrying just enough for Mia to hear. I'm so sorry I'm late. The charity gala ran longer than expected. Dae-Jung said nothing. Just looked at his wife with an expression Mia couldn't read from this distance. Aren't you going to say anything? Soo-jin's smile faltered slightly. You're not still upset about dinner, are you? I told you I had commitments. What's his name? Dae-Jung's voice was quiet. Conversational. Terrifying. Soo-jin blinked. What? The cologne you're wearing. It's Tom Ford. Tobacco vanille. Expensive. Not mine. He leaned forward slightly. So whose is it? The color drained from Soo-jin's face. I don't know what you're. Don't. The word cracked like a whip. Don't insult me further by lying. Soo-jin's composure cracked. Her eyes darted around the club, looking for escape routes or witnesses. Her gaze landed on Mia for a fraction of a second, and something flickered across her face. Recognition. Oh no. You, Soo-jin said, her voice turning sharp as she gestured at Mia. You were in the restroom earlier. Did you see something? Did you tell him something? Every eye in the club turned toward Mia. Her mouth went dry. This was it. This was how invisible bartenders died, caught between powerful people's wars. But before she could respond, Dae-Jung's hand slammed down on the table hard enough to rattle glasses. Leave her out of this, he snarled. This is between you and me. The bartender gave you something, didn't she? Soo-jin's voice rose, panic bleeding through her carefully maintained elegance. What did she give you? Dae-Jung pulled out the photos. Set them on the table between them like playing cards. These. Soo-jin's face went from pale to ashen. Her mouth opened. Closed. No words came. Viktor Romanov. Dae-Jung continued, his voice deadly calm. Of all the men in Seoul, you chose my father's killer. Was it revenge? Strategy? Or did you just enjoy spitting on everything my family built? Dae-Jung, please. How long? Each word was carved from ice. How long have you been fucking the man who put a bullet in my father's head? The club had gone completely silent. Even the music seemed to have stopped, though Mia knew that was impossible. Every patron, every staff member was frozen, watching this private devastation play out like a theater performance. 6 months, Sujin whispered, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. It started 6 months ago. 6 months. Dae-Jung laughed, and the sound was broken glass. 6 months of you coming home late. 6 months of excuses. 6 months of me being a fool. It wasn't about you. It was all about me. He stood abruptly, towering over her. Everything you've done has been about me. About my family. About destroying us from the inside because your family never forgave mine for being stronger, for being better, for taking what was rightfully ours. That's not true. Your father lost the docks to mine 20 years ago. Lost his power. Lost his pride. Dae-Jung's voice dropped to something venomous. And you've spent our entire marriage trying to get it back by any means necessary. Even if it meant spreading your legs for a Russian arms dealer. The slap echoed through the club. Sujin's hand connected with her husband's face with enough force to snap his head to the side. Red bloomed across his cheek. He didn't react. Didn't touch the mark. Just looked at her with eyes gone cold and dead. I want a divorce, Sujin said, her voice shaking but determined. I want half of everything. The house, the businesses, the offshore accounts. And I want it by the end of the month, or I go to the prosecutors with everything I know. You think you have leverage? Dae-Jung's smile was terrifying. You think sleeping with my enemy gives you power? I think Victor has connections you can't touch. I think he's promised me protection. And I think Victor Romanov is dead. The words fell like stones into still water. Sujin froze. What? He died approximately. Dae-Jung checked his watch with casual precision. 45 minutes ago. Car accident on the Gangnam Highway. Very tragic. Both occupants died instantly. The implication hung in the air. Not an accident. An execution. Sujin's legs gave out. She collapsed back into the booth, her face a mask of horror. You killed him. I made a phone call. Dae-Jung's voice was flat, emotionless. What happened after that is between Victor and his poor driving skills. You're insane. I'm protective. There's a difference. He leaned down, his hands braced on the table, caging her in. You married into the Kang family, Sujin. You took vows. You took our name. You took our protection. And in return you were supposed to give us loyalty. I never loved you, she spat. Not for one single day. I know. And there, finally, Mia saw the devastation break through his control. Just for a moment. Just long enough to reveal the man beneath the monster. I always knew. But I loved you anyway. Like a fool. Like an idiot who thought love could transform someone. He straightened, adjusting his cuffs with mechanical precision. You'll have your divorce. The papers will be delivered tomorrow. You'll get nothing except what you brought into this marriage. Your family's pride will remain exactly where I found it, in the gutter. Victor's organization will come for you, Sujin said desperately. His brother won't let this stand. Let them come. Dae-Jung's smile was all teeth and fury. I've been too soft for too long. Too willing to let old enemies live because my wife asked me to show mercy. But you've taught me an important lesson tonight. What lesson? That mercy is for people who deserve it. And you, my dear wife, deserve nothing. He turned and walked away, leaving Sujin sobbing in the booth surrounded by photos of her own betrayal. And his path led directly to the bar. Directly to Mia. The proposition. Mia's hands shook as she poured whiskey, Glenfiddich his usual, before he even asked. She set it in front of him as he took the corner bar stool, the one that let him see the entire club while keeping his back to the wall. Old habits. Survival instincts. He didn't drink. Just stared at the amber liquid like it held answers. Your grandmother, he said after a long silence. Tell me about her. The non sequitur threw Mia off balance. Sir. You're risking everything for her medical bills. That kind of devotion is rare. His eyes found hers and they were softer now. Still dangerous but human. Tell me about her. Mia swallowed hard. She raised me after my parents died. Worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table. Never complained. Never asked for help. Her voice roughened. Now she's dying and I can't save her. Not with what I make here. And yet you gave me those photos instead of selling them. I'm not a good person, Mr. Kang. But I'm not that person. You're better than good. He finally lifted the glass, took a slow sip. You're decent. In my world, decency is rarer than diamonds and infinitely more valuable. Mia didn't know how to respond to that. I need someone, Dae-Jung continued, his voice dropping lower. Someone I can trust. Someone who isn't part of this. He gestured vaguely at the club, at his world, at everything. Someone who won't betray me for money or power or fear. I'm just a bartender. You're observant. Discreet. Brave enough to do the right thing even when it's dangerous. His gaze pinned her in place. And most importantly, you have no connections to my world. No family ties, no old loyalties, no reason to choose sides except your own conscience. What are you asking me? Work for me. Not here. In my personal capacity. He pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. I'll handle your grandmother's surgery and all related costs. I'll pay you 10 times what you make here. And in return you'll be my eyes and ears in places I can't go. My bridge to the normal world I left behind. You want me to spy for you? I want you to help me survive what's coming. He showed her his phone screen. News alerts already reporting Viktor Romanov's death. The Russians will retaliate. My wife's family will move against me. And somewhere in my organization, there are traitors waiting for the right moment to strike. How do you know? Because my wife knew things she shouldn't have known. Security details. Safe house locations. Financial information that should have been locked away. His jaw clenched. Someone close to me has been feeding her information. Probably feeding Viktor too. Which means when the Russians come for revenge, they'll know exactly where to find me. Mia's mind raced. And you think having someone outside your organization gives me an advantage they won't expect? Yes. He met her eyes. I'm not asking you to kill anyone, Mia. I'm not asking you to become part of the violence. I'm asking you to be exactly what you are, invisible, observant. Someone who can move through the world without raising alarms. This is insane. Completely. He didn't deny it. But your grandmother needs surgery she can't afford. You need money you can't earn fast enough. And I need someone I can trust in a world where trust gets you killed. He set his phone down. So, do we have a deal? Every rational part of Mia's brain screamed no. This was how good people got destroyed. By stepping into worlds they didn't understand, taking money from dangerous men, becoming complicit in violence that would stain their souls. But her grandmother was dying. And Kang Dae-Jung was offering her a lifeline wrapped in danger. What exactly would I have to do? She asked carefully. For now. Watch. Tell me what you see. He pulled out a sleek black credit card, set it on the bar. This is yours. No limit. Use it for anything you need. Consider it a signing bonus. I can't. You can. You will. His voice softened. Mia, I'm not a good man. I've done terrible things. I will continue to do terrible things. But I keep my word. Always. Your grandmother will have her surgery. You'll have security. And in return, all I ask is your loyalty. Why me? The question burst out before she could stop it. You have an entire organization. Why trust a stranger? Because strangers don't have histories. Don't have grudges. Don't have reasons to want me dead. He finished his whiskey in one swallow. Everyone in my world wants something from me. Power, money, protection. But you just wanted to do the right thing. That's worth more than any army. The weight of the decision pressed down on Mia's shoulders. She could say no. Walk away. Keep her safe, invisible life. But then Grandma would die slowly in that government hospital, and Mia would spend the rest of her life wondering what if. She picked up the credit card. It was heavy. Heavier than plastic should be. I have conditions, she said. Dae-Jung's eyebrow lifted. You're negotiating? You said name my price. I'm naming it. She met his gaze without flinching. I won't hurt anyone. I won't lie to innocent people. And if you ask me to do something that crosses my moral line, I get to say no. No retaliation. No consequences. And if saying no gets you killed? Then that's my choice to make. Something that might have been respect flickered across his face. Agreed. Anything else? My grandmother never finds out where the money came from. As far as she knows, I got a better job. A promotion. Nothing illegal. Done. And Mia took a breath. If I see you becoming someone you're not, if this revenge consumes you into something worse, I get to tell you. Even if you don't want to hear it. He stared at her for a long moment. Then surprisingly he smiled. It was small, barely there, but genuine. You're going to try to save my soul, aren't you? Someone should. My soul's been damned for years, Mia. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption. Even monsters. The smile faded, replaced by something more complex. My father used to say that. Before he died. Before I became this. What happened to him? Viktor Romanov shot him in the head during a peace negotiation. In front of me. When I was 19. Dae-Jung's voice was flat, emotionless. I've spent 15 years building power, making alliances, waiting for the right moment to strike back. And my wife. He stopped, swallowed hard. My wife gave him to me on a silver platter by falling into his bed. Is that why you killed him tonight? Revenge. Partially. He stood, adjusted his jacket. But mostly because I couldn't stand the thought of her touching him again. Couldn't stand imagining her choosing him over me every night while I waited like a fool. The raw honesty in his voice made Mia's chest ache. I'm sorry, she said softly. For what she did to you. Don't be sorry for me. Be smart. He pulled out a phone, different from his personal one, this one clearly a burner, and handed it to her. This is yours. Only I have the number. If you need me, call. If you see anything unusual, call. If you just need to talk. He hesitated. Call. You're giving me a direct line to you? I told you. I need someone I can trust. That requires access. He glanced toward his wife, still sobbing in the booth. I need to handle this. Can you close the bar early tonight? Tell the staff there's a gas leak or something. You're going to kill her. Mia said it as a statement, not a question. No. His voice was heavy. But I am going to make sure she understands the consequences of her choices. And I'd rather not have witnesses. Mr. Kang Dae-Jung. He met her eyes. If we're going to do this, use my name. Mr. Kang was my father. Dae-Jung, Mia corrected, and his name felt strange on her tongue. Intimate. Dangerous. Don't do something you'll regret. Too late for that. I married her. But there was no humor in his voice. Just exhaustion. Close the bar, Mia. Go home. Check on your grandmother. Tomorrow, a hospital representative will contact you about the surgery. Don't ask questions. Just say yes. And then you start your new job. He turned to leave, then paused. Mia? Thank you. For the rope. He walked away before she could ask what he meant. Mia stood behind the bar, credit card in one hand, burner phone in the other, and felt her entire life tilt on its axis. She'd thrown the rope. Now she just had to pray they both didn't drown. Welcome back, Fierce Hearts. If you're new here, subscribe and hit that like button. We're just getting started and this story is about to get dangerous. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love knowing our dark romance family spans the globe. Now dim the lights. Get comfortable. Because what happens next will change everything. Let's continue. 3 days later. Mia's phone, her real phone, not the burner Dae-Jung had given her, buzzed at 6 a.m. with a number she didn't recognize. Ms. Chen? This is Dr. Park from Seoul National University Hospital. I'm calling about your grandmother's kidney transplant. Mia sat up so fast she nearly fell out of bed. You found a match? We have a donor. Surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 7. Dr. Park's voice was warm, professional. Everything has been arranged. Private suite, best surgical team, full recovery care. There's no cost to you. A benefactor has covered all expenses. A benefactor? Mia's voice came out strangled. Anonymous, I'm afraid. But very generous. Your grandmother is a lucky woman. Lucky. Right. Lucky that her granddaughter had made a deal with Seoul's most dangerous crime lord. After the call ended, Mia sat on her narrow bed in the tiny apartment she shared with her grandmother, staring at the burner phone Dae-Jung had given her. She hadn't used it yet. Hadn't needed to. The past 3 days had been eerily quiet. She'd quit her job at the Chrysanthemum Club, or rather her manager had informed her that her resignation had been accepted, with a severance package that was 3 times her annual salary. The credit card Dae-Jung had given her sat in her wallet and used. She was terrified to touch it as if spending his money would make everything real. But now Grandma was getting her surgery. Now there was no going back. Mia picked up the burner phone, stared at the single contact saved in it. DG. She typed, "Thank you for the surgery. I don't know how to repay you." The response came within seconds. "You already have. Meet me at Namsan Tower tonight. 8 p.m. Private observation deck. We need to talk." Her heart hammered. Is something wrong? Everything is wrong. But you're going to help me fix it. Namsan Tower, 8 p.m. The private observation deck at Namsan Tower was exactly what Mia expected from someone like Dae-Jung. Exclusive, expensive, and completely isolated from the tourists crowding the main platforms below. She'd used the credit card for the first time today, buying a simple black dress that didn't scream, "Poor bartender," but didn't pretend to be something she wasn't. Her reflection in the elevator's mirrored walls showed a woman who looked terrified and determined in equal measure. The elevator doors opened directly onto the private deck. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's glittering sprawl, the city spreading out in all directions like a living organism made of light and steel. Dae-Jung stood at the far window, silhouetted against the view. He'd changed since she'd last seen him, no longer the devastated husband but something harder, colder. His suit was midnight blue tonight, perfectly tailored, and when he turned to face her, his expression was unreadable. "You came," he said. "You summoned." Mia stepped out of the elevator, her heels clicking on marble. "I assume this isn't a social call." "Nothing in my life is social anymore." He gestured to a small table set with tea, Korean traditional service, the kind her grandmother would have appreciated. "Please. Sit." Mia sat, watching him pour with the precision of someone who'd been trained in ceremony. His hands were steady, controlled, giving no indication of the violence they were capable of. "How is your grandmother?" he asked. "Scared. Hopeful. Asking questions I can't answer about where the money came from." "What did you tell her?" "That I got a promotion. That a charity program covered the rest." Mia accepted the tea he offered. She doesn't believe me, but she's too grateful to push. Gratitude is useful. It keeps people from asking dangerous questions. He sat across from her, his dark eyes studying her face. "You look different." "I bought a dress. You said I'd need to." "Not the dress. You." He tilted his head slightly. "You look like you've made a decision. Accepted something." Mia wrapped her hands around the warm teacup. "I accepted that I can't go back to who I was 3 days ago. That version of me didn't have the power to save my grandmother. This version does." "And what version is this?" "I don't know yet. I guess we'll find out together." Something flickered across his face. Approval maybe, or recognition. "I like honesty. It's rare in my world." "Everything is rare in your world, apparently." Mia took a sip of tea, letting the warmth steady her nerves. "So, what did you need to tell me that required a private observation deck?" Dae-Jung's expression darkened. "My wife is dead." The words hit like a physical blow. Mia's cup rattled against the saucer as she set it down. "What?" "She died yesterday. Car accident on the highway to Busan. Apparently she was fleeing Seoul, trying to reach her family's compound in the south." His voice was flat, emotionless. "She didn't make it." "Did you?" "No." He met her eyes. "I didn't kill her. I wanted to. God knows I wanted to. But I didn't." "Then who?" "The Russians." He pulled out his phone, showed her a news article. "Viktor Romanov's brother, Alexei, is in Seoul. He arrived 2 days ago with a team of specialists. He knows I killed Viktor. And he knows Sujin was the connection between us." Mia scanned the article. The accident report was brief. Single vehicle collision, driver lost control, both occupants died on impact. But the photo showed wreckage that looked less like an accident and more like an execution. "Both occupants?" she asked. "Sujin and her lawyer. She was running with evidence. Documents about my businesses, financial records, locations of properties and safe houses. She was going to sell everything to the Russians in exchange for protection. But they killed her instead. Because dead witnesses don't talk. And because Alexei doesn't forgive betrayal, even when it benefits him. Dae-Jung took his phone back, his jaw tight. My wife died thinking she'd found salvation. Instead, she found exactly what she deserved. The bitterness in his voice made Mia's chest ache. I'm sorry. Don't be. I stopped mourning her the moment I saw those photos. He stood, moved to the windows. But her death complicates things. The Russians now have whatever information she was carrying. Which means they know about my operations, my people, my vulnerabilities. What are you going to do? Burn it all down and rebuild from scratch? He turned to face her. Every property she knew about gets abandoned. Every operation she had access to gets shut down. Every person she interacted with gets investigated for possible compromise. That's extreme. That's survival. His eyes were hard. In my world, paranoia keeps you alive. Trust gets you killed. Then why trust me? The question hung in the air between them. Dae-Jung crossed back to the table, but he didn't sit. Instead, he stood close enough that Mia had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. Because you had nothing to gain by giving me those photos except my gratitude. Because you negotiated for your grandmother's life instead of your own wealth. Because when I offered you unlimited money, you asked for conditions that protected your morality instead of your bank account. He paused. And because when I look at you, I don't see someone who wants to use me. I see someone who's trying very hard not to be used. That's not the same as trust. No. But it's a start. He pulled out a tablet, set it on the table. I need you to do something for me. Something that requires you to be invisible. Mia looked at the tablet. The screen showed surveillance footage from what looked like a high-end restaurant. What am I looking at? Sangdo. 5-star Korean fusion owned by the Park family. They've been neutral in the gang wars for 20 years. Too valuable to destroy, too cautious to take sides. He scrolled through more footage. But 3 days ago someone from the Russian Bratva had dinner there. With someone from my organization. He froze the image on 2 men at a corner table. One was clearly Russian, blonde, built like a tank, wearing a tracksuit that probably cost more than Mia's apartment. The other was Korean, older, distinguished, wearing a suit that screamed old money and older power. Who is he? Mia asked. Kim Jung. My father's oldest friend. My mentor. The man who taught me everything about this business. Dae-Jung's voice was carefully controlled. And apparently a traitor. You think he's working with the Russians? I think he's the one who fed information to my wife. Who told her about safe houses and security protocols. Who made it possible for Victor to get close to her in the first place. He met her eyes. And I think he's planning to use the chaos from her death to make a move against me. So why not just handle him? Mia regretted the words the moment they left her mouth. But Dae-Jung didn't look offended. As I need proof. Jae-won has powerful allies. If I move against him without ironclad evidence, I start a civil war within my own organization. Half my men are loyal to him. They grew up under his command. What kind of proof do you need? The kind that can't be argued. Recordings, documents, witnesses. He pulled up another image, a private dining room at Sangdo. Jae-won has dinner there every Friday night. Always the same table, always the same time. 8 o'clock. He meets with various people. Business associates, politicians, other gang leaders. All perfectly normal for someone in his position. But this Friday he's meeting with Alexei Romanov. To finalize their arrangement. To plan my assassination. Dae-Jung's voice was ice. And you're going to be there to record every word. Mia's heart stopped. You want me to spy on them? I want you to work as a server at Sangdo for one night. You have experience, 3 years at the Chrysanthemum. You know how to be invisible, how to move through a room without being noticed. And most importantly, you have no connection to me that Jae-won would recognize. He'll have security. They'll check staff. Which is why you're going in through legitimate channels. I've already arranged for Sangdo to have a sudden staffing shortage this Friday. They'll be desperate for experienced servers. You'll apply tomorrow, show them your resume from the Chrysanthemum, and they'll hire you immediately. And the recording device? Dae-Jung pulled out what looked like an ordinary pen. This. It records audio and video, Uploads everything to an encrypted server in real time. You'll wear it in your apron pocket. If anyone checks, it's just a pen. This is insane. This is necessary. He sat across from her again and his expression softened slightly. I know what I'm asking. I know the risk. If Jae-won discovers you, if the Russians identify you, you're dead. I can't protect you if they figure out who you are. Then why ask me at all? Why not use one of your people? Because all of my people are known to Jae-won. He's worked with them for years. A new face would raise suspicion. But a random server who just got hired due to staffing shortage? That's invisible. That's safe. Safe, Mia repeated, her voice flat. You just said I'd be dead if they discover me. You won't be discovered. Not if you do exactly what I tell you. He leaned forward and the intensity in his gaze pinned her in place. Mia, I wouldn't ask this if I had another choice. But Jae-won is planning something catastrophic. And I need to know what it is before Friday night ends in a bloodbath. What happens after I get the recording? You leave. Walk out of Sangdo like nothing happened. The recording uploads automatically, so even if something goes wrong, I'll have the evidence. He paused. And then I handle Jae-won. Permanently. Mia stared at the pen on the table. It looked so ordinary. So harmless. But it was really a loaded gun aimed at a man who'd been Dae-Jung's father figure. He was your mentor, she said softly. This will destroy you. He destroyed himself when he chose betrayal over loyalty. Dae-Jung's voice was hard. My father used to say that family is everything. Jae-won was family. But he decided money and power mattered more than the man who gave him everything. So this is about revenge. This is about survival. Jae-won knows where all the bodies are buried, literally and figuratively. If he's working with the Russians, he's giving them everything they need to dismantle my organization. My people will die. My territories will burn. Everything my father built will be ashes. And you can't let that happen. I won't let that happen. He stood, moved to the windows again. My father died believing his empire was secure. Believing Jae-won would protect me, guide me, help me become the leader he never got to be. I owe him better than letting a traitor destroy everything. Mia watched him standing there, silhouetted against Seoul's lights, and saw the weight he carried. Not just grief, not just rage, but the crushing responsibility of an empire built on violence and blood. Your father would be proud of you, she said quietly. He turned surprised. Why do you say that? Because you haven't let this consume you into something mindless. You're being strategic. Careful. You're trying to protect your people instead of just burning everything down in revenge. Don't mistake strategy for mercy, Mia. When I have proof of Jae-won's betrayal, I will kill him slowly. Painfully. As an example to anyone else who thinks about turning on me. I know. But you're still waiting for proof instead of just acting on suspicion. That takes restraint. That takes. She searched for the right word. Even in this world. Dae-Jung stared at her for a long moment. You see things that aren't there. I see things you've forgotten are there. Mia stood, smoothing her dress. I'll do it. I'll work at Sangdo on Friday. I'll get you the recording. Just like that. No negotiation. You're keeping your end of the bargain. My grandmother gets her surgery tomorrow. The least I can do is keep mine. She picked up the pen, turned it over in her hands. But I have one condition. Of course you do. He almost smiled. What is it? After this is over, after you handle Jae-won, I want to know why he did it. I want to know what made a man betray his best friend's son. Because if I'm going to be part of this world, I need to understand how people justify becoming monsters. You think understanding will help you avoid becoming one? I think understanding might help you avoid creating more of them. The observation hit its mark. Dae-Jung's expression shifted, something raw and almost vulnerable flickering across his features. My father used to say something similar, he said quietly. He believed that most people aren't born evil. They're broken into it by circumstances, by choices, by the weight of surviving in a world that doesn't forgive weakness. Do you believe that? I used to. Before my father died. Before I spent 15 years learning that the world is exactly as cruel as it appears, and mercy is just another word for suicide. He moved closer to her. But then you walked up to my table with photos that could have made you rich, and you asked for nothing except your grandmother's health. And I started wondering if maybe my father wasn't entirely wrong. He wasn't wrong, Dae-Jung. You're proof of that. I'm proof that monsters can learn to pretend they're human. There's a difference. Is there? Mia challenged. Because from where I'm standing, you've kept every promise you made. You could have let my grandmother die. You could have used me and thrown me away. But instead you're paying for her surgery and treating me like... Like what? Like I matter. Like my conscience matters. Like maybe there's still something in you worth saving. The silence that followed was charged, heavy with things neither of them knew how to say. Dae-Jung reached out, his fingers brushing her cheek with unexpected gentleness. The touch was brief, barely there, but it sent electricity racing down Mia's spine. Be careful Friday night, he said softly. These men won't hesitate to hurt you if they suspect anything. Promise me you'll be invisible. Promise me you'll survive. I promise to do my best. Not good enough. Promise me, Mia. The intensity in his voice, the desperate edge beneath the command, made her breath catch. I promise, she whispered. I'll survive. Good. He stepped back, the moment breaking. A car will pick you up tomorrow morning at 6. They'll take you to the hospital to be with your grandmother during surgery. You'll have a private waiting room and anything you need will be provided. You don't have to. Yes, I do. You're under my protection now. That means I take care of you. His expression hardened slightly. It also means if anyone threatens you, they're threatening me. And I don't respond well to threats. Mia believed him. Friday morning, Seoul National University Hospital. Grandma's surgery lasted 6 hours. Mia spent every minute of it in the private waiting room Dae-Jung had arranged, pacing the expensive carpet, drinking coffee that actually tasted good, trying not to think about what she'd agreed to do tonight. The room was ridiculous. Floor-to-ceiling windows, comfortable furniture, a small kitchen stocked with food she couldn't eat. Everything designed to soothe wealthy families while their loved ones were cut open and stitched back together. She was alone except for one of Dae-Jung's men, a quiet, efficient presence named Minho who stood by the door and refused all attempts at conversation. When Dr. Park finally emerged, his mask pulled down and his eyes warm with success, Mia nearly collapsed with relief. The surgery was perfect, he said. The kidney is functioning beautifully. Your grandmother is strong. She's going to make a full recovery. Mia's vision blurred with tears. Can I see her? She's in recovery now. Give her a few hours. By this evening she'll be awake enough for a short visit. This evening. When Mia would be at Sangdo recording a meeting that could get her killed. Thank you, she managed. Thank you so much. Dr. Park smiled. Thank your benefactor. The surgical team we assembled doesn't usually work together, but the funding was persuasive. After he left, Mia sat down heavily, her hands shaking. She'd done it. Grandma was going to live. Now she just had to survive tonight to see her wake up. Sangdo Restaurant, 7:45 p.m. The staff uniform at Sangdo was elegant. Black dress, white apron, minimal jewelry. Mia had been hired that morning with barely an interview, exactly as Dae-Jung had predicted. The manager had been desperate, relieved, grateful for someone with experience. Now she stood in the staff room, the pen tucked in her apron pocket, trying to control her breathing. You okay? Another server, a young woman named Ji-won, touched her arm. You look pale. First day nerves, Mia lied. You'll be fine. Just smile, don't spill anything on the VIPs and stay out of Chef's way when he's screaming. Ji-won grinned. Table assignments are on the board. Looks like you got section 3. Mia checked the board. Section 3. Private dining rooms. Of course. She made her way to the private area, her heart hammering. 3 rooms all occupied. Business dinners from the sound of it. Quiet conversations, occasional laughter. Room 3 was different. 2 security guards flanked the door, both built like mountains, both wearing earpieces. They checked her badge, patted her down professionally. She held her breath when they checked her apron, but the pen looked exactly like a pen, and then let her through. Inside the room was intimate. 1 table, 6 chairs, expensive artwork on the walls. 2 men sat across from each other, speaking in low voices. Kim Jae-won was exactly as distinguished as his photos suggested. Mid-60s, silver hair, a face that had seen decades of violence but maintained an aura of refined power. He wore a traditional hanbok in deep blue, the formal attire of someone honoring old ways. Across from him sat a man who could only be Alexei Romanov. Blonde, mid-40s, built like he could break concrete with his bare hands. He wore an expensive suit that couldn't hide the violence in his posture, the predator's awareness in his pale blue eyes. They stopped talking when Mia entered. "Good evening, gentlemen," she said in Korean, bowing slightly. "My name is Mia. I'll be serving you tonight. May I start you with drinks?" "Vodka," Alexei said in accented Korean. "Russian standard." "Neat." "Whiskey," Jae-won added. "Hibiki 21. 1 ice cube." "Of course. I'll be right back." Mia left the room, her hands shaking. She'd done it. He was in. The pen was recording. Now she just had to survive the next hour without giving herself away. She returned with their drinks, set them down with practiced precision. Neither man acknowledged her beyond a slight nod. She was furniture. Invisible. Perfect. "The food will be served family style," she explained. "Chef's tasting menu. 7 courses. Please let me know if you have any dietary restrictions." "No restrictions," Jae-won said. "You may leave us." Mia bowed and retreated to the corner of the room where servers typically waited. Close enough to respond if needed. Far enough to be forgotten. And she listened. The recording. "You look well, Jae-won," Alexei said, his Korean improving as he relaxed. "Betrayal suits you." Jae-won's smile was thin. "I prefer to think of it as evolution. Adapting to changing circumstances. Your boss's wife is dead. My brother is dead. I'd say circumstances have changed dramatically. Yes. Unfortunate about Sujin. She had potential. She had a big mouth and weak nerves. She would have sold you out the moment things got difficult." Alexei sipped his vodka. "Which is why I ensured she didn't live long enough to become a problem. Dae-Jung will suspect you killed her. Let him. He can't prove it. And by the time he tries, he'll have much bigger problems." Jae-won leaned back in his chair. "You're certain your plan will work?" Dae-Jung is paranoid. He's already abandoning properties, reshuffling his security. If he suspects we're moving against him. He doesn't suspect you. That's the beauty of this. Alexei's smile was cold. "You're his father's most trusted friend. His mentor. The man who taught him everything. Why would he ever think you'd betray him? Because his wife did. Because everyone he's ever loved has disappointed him." Jae-won's voice carried an odd note. Regret, maybe, or calculation. "He's not the boy I raised. He's become careful. Dangerous. Then we'll have to be more dangerous." Alexei pulled out his phone, showed Jae-won something on the screen. "These are the locations of Dae-Jung's remaining safe houses. Confirmed by my people. When we move, we hit all of them simultaneously. He'll have nowhere to run. And his inner circle? Dead. All of them. We can't risk anyone loyal to him surviving." Alexei's expression was carved from ice. "This needs to be total. Complete. The Kang Empire ends and you rebuild from the ashes with my family's backing. And in return you get access to the Korean markets. Weapons smuggling through Busan port. Drug distribution through Seoul's club network. Exactly. A partnership beneficial to both of us." Alexei raised his glass. "To the death of the Kang dynasty." Jae-won hesitated for just a moment, so brief Mia almost missed it. Then he raised his whiskey. "To new beginnings." They drank. Mia stood in the corner, her pulse roaring in her ears. The pen in her apron was recording every word. Every damning admission. This was it. The proof Dae-Jung needed. She was about to excuse herself to check on the kitchen when Jae-won's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned, then showed the screen to Alexei. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "One of my men just reported unusual activity. Someone's been asking questions about tonight's meeting. About Sangdo. About who I'm dining with." Alexei's eyes narrowed. "Do you think Dae-Jung knows?" "I think we need to be careful. Very careful." Jae-won's gaze swept the room, and for one heart-stopping moment his eyes landed on Mia. She bowed her head immediately, trying to look subservient and unimportant. "The server," Alexei said quietly. "How long has she been here?" "She started today. Temp hire because of staffing shortage." Jae-won's voice was thoughtful. "But that's convenient timing, isn't it?" "Oh, no. You think Dae-Jung planted her?" Alexei's hand moved inside his jacket. Toward a weapon Mia realized with dawning horror. "I think we should be certain." Jae-won gestured to Mia. Come here. Mia's blood turned to ice. But running would confirm their suspicions. So she walked forward, bowing politely, every muscle screaming at her to flee. Yes, sir. You're new, Jae-won said. Sir. Started this morning. Where did you work before? The Chrysanthemum Club. 3 years. The truth. Always stick close to the truth. And you left because? Wanted better hours. Better pay. Sang-do has a good reputation. Jae-won studied her with eyes that had seen through countless lies. Show me your hands. Mia extended them, palms up. Her hands shook slightly, fear she couldn't control. You're scared, Alexei observed. I'm always nervous around important guests, sir. I want to do a good job. Empty your apron. This was it. They'd find the pen. They'd know. But Mia had prepared for this. Dae-Jung had prepared her. She pulled out the pen, set it on the table. Then a notepad. Loose change. A lighter for the candles. Normal server items. May I ask why? She said, letting confusion color her voice. Jae-won picked up the pen, examined it. Clicked it once. Twice. Set it down. Paranoia, he said finally. Ignore it. Alexei didn't look convinced. Perhaps we should continue this conversation elsewhere. The door burst open. One of the security guards stumbled in, blood streaming from his nose. Sir, we have a situation. He was cut off by the sound of gunfire in the hallway. Alexei was on his feet instantly, weapon drawn. Jae-won moved with surprising speed for a man his age, flipping the table to create cover. And Mia stood frozen in the center of the room, realizing that Dae-Jung's careful plan had just fallen apart. Get down. Jae-won shouted at her. But before she could move, the door exploded inward in a shower of splinters and smoke. 3 men in black tactical gear flooded in, weapons raised. And behind them, backlit by the hallway's emergency lights, stood Kang Dae-Jung. His eyes found Mia's across the chaos. And she saw murder in them. The raid. Time fractured into shards of chaos. Alexei Romanov fired first. 3 shots that punched through the doorframe where Dae-Jung's men had taken cover. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space, making Mia's ears ring. Get her out. Dae-Jung's voice cut through the gunfire, sharp and commanding. 2 hands grabbed Mia from behind. Min-ho, the guard from the hospital. He hauled her backward toward the service exit, his body positioned between her and the bullets. No, the pen, Mia gasped, reaching for the table where she'd left it. Forget it. Min-ho shoved her through the service door just as another volley of gunfire erupted. They stumbled into the kitchen. Chefs and staff scattered, screaming. Min-ho kept moving, pulling Mia through the chaos out the back door into the alley behind Sang-do. A black SUV screeched to a halt beside them. The door flew open. Get in. Min-ho ordered. Mia climbed in, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grip the seat. Min-ho slammed the door and the vehicle took off, tires squealing. Only then did Mia realize she wasn't alone. In the seat beside her sat a woman, late 20s, beautiful in a dangerous way, with sharp cheekbones and eyes like black ice. She wore tactical gear and held a tablet that showed multiple video feeds. You're the bartender, the woman said in perfect English, her accent American educated. The one who gave boss the photos. Yes. Who are you? Han Yi-jin. Head of security. She didn't offer a hand, just studied Mia with clinical assessment. You just blew a 3-week surveillance operation. What? I didn't. Boss moved early because Jae-won's people spotted you asking questions at the hospital this morning. About your grandmother's surgery. About who paid for it. Yi-jin's voice was flat. You led them right to boss. The accusation hit like a physical blow. I didn't ask questions. I would never. Someone did. Using your name. Claiming to be your cousin. Yi-jin pulled up a photo on her tablet. A young woman in medical scrubs, Asian features, forgettable face. Recognize her? No. I don't have any cousins in Seoul. My family is. Mia stopped. That's not me. No. That's one of Jae-won's people. Posing as you to see if anyone reacted. And when the hospital staff mentioned your anonymous benefactor, she knew. Yi-jin's expression was carved from stone. So Jae-won knew boss was protecting you. Which meant you were important. Which meant tonight at Sang-do was a trap. But I got the recording. Which they let you get. The conversation was staged. They suspected surveillance. Yijin swiped to another feed, security footage from inside the private dining room. See how Jae-won positioned himself? Always angled away from you. Never giving clear visual confirmation of his identity. And Alexei's voice? Notice how he spoke louder than necessary? That's for audio clarity when they claim it's fabricated. Mia's stomach dropped. So the recording is worthless? Not worthless. Just not the smoking gun boss needed. Yijin closed the tablet. But now we have something better. What? Boss caught them in person. With weapons. Attempting to kill him. That's not something they can explain away. She glanced at Mia. You were supposed to stay invisible. Instead you became the bait that forced them into the open. I didn't mean to. Intent doesn't matter. Results do. Yijin's phone buzzed. She answered in rapid Korean, listened, then hung up. Boss is coming. He's not happy. The safe house. The SUV pulled into an underground garage beneath a nondescript building in Gangnam. Mia was escorted up a service elevator, down a hallway that smelled like expensive cleaning products and fear, into a penthouse suite that made the Chrysanthemum Club look shabby. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's night skyline. Minimalist furniture in shades of gray and black. Everything sharp angles and hard surfaces. A space designed for function, not comfort. Wait here, Yijin said, then disappeared. Mia stood in the center of the vast living room, her server uniform suddenly feeling ridiculous. She was still wearing the apron. Still had someone else's blood spattered on her sleeve. One of the guards probably, or maybe. The elevator chimed. Dae-Jung strode in and Mia's breath caught. He looked like violence incarnate. His suit jacket was gone, his white shirt torn at the shoulder and stained with blood. His knuckles were split, his jaw tight with barely controlled fury. But it was his eyes that made her step back instinctively, dark, burning, absolutely lethal. Are you hurt? His first words. Not angry, not accusatory. Just that. No. Minho got me out before. Good. He crossed to a sidebar, poured whiskey with shaking hands. Downed it in one swallow. Poured another. Jae-won escaped. Alexei. 3 of my men are dead. 2 more in critical condition. I'm sorry. Don't. He slammed the glass down hard enough to crack it. Don't apologize. This isn't your fault. Yijin said someone impersonated me. Used my name too. I know. I saw the hospital footage. He finally looked at her, and the rage in his eyes was tempered by something else. Concern. They were watching you, Mia. Since the moment I paid for your grandmother's surgery. Waiting to see if you'd lead them to me. But you knew. You must have known they'd be watching. I knew it was possible. I didn't think they'd move this fast. He ran a hand through his hair, the gesture betraying his exhaustion. Jae-won is smarter than I gave him credit for. He anticipated every move. The recording, the raid, all of it. So what now? Now. Dae-Jung's laugh was bitter. Now I've declared open war on my mentor and the Russian Bratva. Now everyone in my organization has to choose sides. Now people I've known my entire life will try to kill me. He moved to the windows, staring out at the city. My father would have handled this better. He would have seen Jae-won's betrayal coming. Would have neutralized the threat quietly, without bloodshed, without forcing everyone to choose. Your father isn't here, Mia said quietly. You are. And you're doing what you have to do to survive. Is that what this is? Survival? He turned to face her. Or is it just revenge dressed up as necessity? Does it matter? My father always said the moment you can't tell the difference between justice and vengeance is the moment you become the monster everyone fears. His voice roughened. I think I crossed that line tonight. Mia moved closer, drawn by the raw pain in his voice. What happened? At the restaurant after I left? I gave Jae-won a choice. Surrender. Explain himself. Face judgment from the family council. Dae-Jung's jaw clenched. He laughed. Said my father was weak. Said the old ways were dead. Said I was a fool for believing loyalty meant anything in this world. What did you do? I shot him. The confession came out flat. In the shoulder. Would have killed him, but Alexei's men provided cover. They escaped through a service tunnel we didn't know existed. He looked at his hands, the split knuckles, the blood. I wanted to hurt him. Wanted to make him suffer for every lie, every betrayal. But most of all, I wanted him to hurt the way I hurt when I realized everyone I've ever trusted has destroyed me. The vulnerability in those words made Mia's chest ache. This wasn't the cold crime lord she'd given photos to. This was a man whose world had shattered repeatedly, whose heart had been carved out piece by piece. She did something that logic screamed was insane. She closed the distance between them and took his hand. Dae-Jung froze. Stared at their joined hands like he'd never seen such a thing. "You're not alone," Mia said quietly. "I know it feels like everyone has betrayed you. But I haven't. I won't. You don't know that. You don't know what's coming. The Russians will retaliate. J1 will turn half my organization against me. And you," his voice cracked. "You're vulnerable now. They know about you. They'll use you to get to me. Then protect me. I can't protect everyone. I'm not asking you to protect everyone. I'm asking you to protect me." He squeezed his hand. "You said I'm under your protection. So protect me. Keep me close. Keep me safe. And let me help you survive this war. You don't understand what you're asking. Being close to me means becoming a target. It means living in constant danger. It means I matter enough for you to fight for me." Mia met his eyes. "For 3 years I was invisible. Nobody's priority. Just another server, another face in the crowd. But you see me. You've seen me from the beginning. So yes, I understand the danger. And I'm choosing it anyway. I'm choosing you." Something in Dae-Jung's expression cracked. The careful control he maintained, the walls he'd built. They fractured, revealing the desperate, lonely man beneath. "You're insane," he whispered. "Probably." She managed a small smile. "But I'm also the only person in your life who's asking for nothing except to be here. No power plays. No hidden agendas. Just this." He stared at her for a long moment. Then his free hand came up, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. "If you stay," he said quietly, "there's no going back. You become mine to protect. Mine to defend. And everyone who wants to hurt me will try to hurt you first. I know. They'll call you terrible things. My mistress. My weakness. A foolish girl who got in over her head. I don't care what they call me. Mia." Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer and a curse. "I can't promise you safety. I can't promise you normal. All I can promise is that I will burn this city to ashes before I let anyone hurt you. That's enough." His thumb traced her lower lip and Mia's breath caught. This close, she could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, the scar through his left eyebrow, the exhaustion carved into his features. "You saved my life twice now," he murmured. "The photos. And tonight, even though it went wrong, you tried. You walked into danger for me. You saved my grandmother. We're even." "No." His forehead touched hers. "We're not even close to even. Because you've given me something I haven't had in 15 years. "What?" "Hope that maybe I'm not completely alone." The kiss was inevitable. Dae-Jung closed the distance, his lips capturing hers with desperate hunger. Not gentle, not cautious, just raw need given physical form. His hand slid into her hair, angling her head as he deepened the kiss. Mia gasped against his mouth, her hands finding his chest, feeling his heart hammering beneath her palms. He tasted like whiskey and violence and something darker she couldn't name. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes had gone molten. "Tell me to stop," he said roughly. "Tell me this is a mistake and I'll take you to a safe house. I'll protect you from a distance. I'll keep my promises without." "No." Mia's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "Don't stop. Don't distance. I want this. I want you. You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me." Claiming. He kissed her again, harder this time, backing her toward the bedroom with controlled urgency. They left a trail of clothing, her apron, his torn shirt, her shoes. Each piece shed felt like armor falling away, revealing the vulnerable humans beneath. The bedroom was as minimalist as the rest of the penthouse. King bed with black silk sheets. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. No personal touches, no photographs, just expensive emptiness. "He'll know." Dae-Jung laid her on the bed with surprising gentleness, his body covering hers. His weight was solid, grounding, real. "Last chance," he murmured against her neck. "After this you're mine. Completely. And I don't share Mia. I don't compromise. You become the most important person in my world, which means you become the most vulnerable target. Good. She pulled him closer. Because you're about to become the most important person in mine. Something shifted in his expression. Wonder mixed with possession mixed with desperate gratitude. Then his mouth was on hers again and thinking became impossible. He took his time despite the urgency. His hands mapped every curve, every dip, learning her body with focused intensity. When she gasped, he smiled against her skin. When she arched into his touch, he murmured approval in Korean, words she didn't understand but felt in her bones. Beautiful, he whispered, switching to English. You're so damn beautiful. No one had ever called her beautiful before. Not like this. Not like she was something precious. Dae-Jung. Say it again. My name. Say it. Dae-Jung. She pulled him closer, nails digging into his shoulders. Please. Please what? His voice was rough, teasing. Tell me what you want, Mia. All of you. Everything. He claimed her then, their bodies joining with an intensity that stole her breath. It wasn't gentle. Neither of them needed gentle. This was desperate and claiming and absolutely necessary. Two people who'd been alone too long finding connection in the only language that made sense. When she cried out, he swallowed the sound with his kiss. When he groaned her name, she held him tighter, refusing to let go. And when they finally shattered together, it felt like falling and flying simultaneously. Afterward, they lay tangled in silk sheets, skin cooling in the air-conditioned darkness. Dae-Jung's arm was locked around her waist, his chin resting on top of her head, his breathing gradually slowing. You're mine now, he said quietly. Not a question. A statement of fact. I know. Everyone will see it. Tomorrow when they look at you they'll know you're under my protection. That you've shared my bed. That you're yours, Mia finished. You said that already. I need to make sure you understand what it means. In my world there are rules. Hierarchies. You're not just some woman I'm sleeping with. You're... He stopped, struggling with the words. What am I? Mine to protect. Mine to defend. My... He switched to Korean, said something that sounded both possessive and reverent. What does that mean? It means in English you'd probably say girlfriend or partner. In Korean, in my world, it means something more permanent. It means you're family now. And family is everything. Mia turned in his arms, looking up at his face in the darkness. Your wife was family. And she destroyed you. My wife was a political arrangement that became a nightmare. You, his hand cupped her face. You chose this. Chose me. Knowing exactly what I am and what I'm capable of. That's different. Is it? What if I betray you too? Then I'll be heartbroken and probably dead. He said it so matter-of-factly that Mia couldn't tell if he was joking. But I don't think you will. How can you be so sure? Because you gave me those photos when you could have sold them. Because you walked into danger tonight for nothing except my safety. Because... He pulled her closer. Because when I look at you, I see someone who understands what it means to protect the people you love, even when it costs everything. Your grandmother. You'd do anything for her. Just like you'd do anything for your father's memory. For the empire he built. For the people who depend on you. Mia pressed her hand against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. We're more alike than you think. I'm a monster, Mia. Don't romanticize what I am. You're a man who's been hurt repeatedly and learned to hurt back first. There's a difference. He was quiet for a long moment. My father used to say something similar. He said everyone has the capacity for violence, but it's what you do with that capacity that defines you. Use it to protect and you're a guardian. Use it for power and you're a tyrant. Which one are you? I'm not sure anymore. I thought I was protecting what he built. But tonight when I saw Jaewon laughing at everything my father believed in. His voice hardened. I wanted to destroy him. Not for strategy or protection. Just for the satisfaction of watching him suffer. That's human. That's grief and rage, not monstrosity. You give me too much credit. And you don't give yourself enough. Mia kissed him soft and slow. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to want revenge. As long as you don't lose yourself in it. And if I do, then I'll remind you who you are. I'll be the rope, remember? His arms tightened around her. You're going to try to save me, aren't you? Even though I'm probably beyond saving. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption. Even you. You're insane. You said that already. I need to keep saying it until you believe me. But he was smiling now just slightly. You walked into my world and decided a crime lord needed saving. That's either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever witnessed. Why can't it be both? He laughed, actual laughter, rough and surprised. God help me, I'm falling for a woman who thinks she can fix a monster with kindness. The confession hung in the air between them. I'm not trying to fix you, Mia said quietly. I'm trying to remind you that you were never broken. Just bent by circumstances. Pretty words. But tomorrow when the war starts in earnest, you'll see what I really am. And you might not like it. Try me. The next morning, Mia woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. She was alone in the bed, wrapped in silk sheets that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The events of last night crashed over her. The restaurant, the gunfire, Dae-Jung's desperate kiss, the claiming that followed. She'd slept with a crime lord. No, she'd chosen a crime lord. There was a difference. Mia found a robe laid out for her. Men's but soft and clean. She wrapped herself in it and padded out to the main living area. Dae-Jung stood at the windows, fully dressed in a fresh suit, speaking rapid Korean on his phone. He looked different in daylight. Harder, more remote, the vulnerable man from last night buried beneath layers of carefully maintained control. When he saw her, something softened in his expression. He ended the call abruptly. You're awake. I had breakfast brought up. It's in the kitchen. Mia found a spread that could feed 6 people. Rice, soup, kimchi, grilled fish, fresh fruit. This is too much. You haven't eaten since yesterday. Eat. Not a request. A command wrapped in concern. She sat at the counter, served herself small portions. Dae-Jung joined her with coffee. Real coffee, the kind that actually tasted good. How's your grandmother? He asked. I don't know. I haven't called the hospital. I did. This morning. She's recovering well. Asking about you. He pulled out his phone, showed her a text from Dr. Park. I told them you were handling family business. They'll let you visit this afternoon. The casual way he'd integrated himself into her life should have been alarming. Instead, Mia felt something warm unfurl in her chest. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We need to talk about what happens next. Mia set down her chopsticks. I'm listening. Last night changed things. Jaewon knows about you now. The Russians know about you. Which means you can't go back to your apartment, can't return to your old life, can't be anywhere they might find you. So I stay here? No. Here is too obvious. They'll watch this building. He pulled up a map on his phone. I have a property in Itaewon. Foreign district, lots of expats, easier to blend in. You'll stay there with round-the-clock security. How long? Until I've eliminated the threats. Could be days. Could be weeks. His jaw tightened. I need to know you're safe while I handle Jaewon and the Russians. I want to help. Absolutely not. You said I could be your eyes and ears. Your bridge to the normal world. Mia met his gaze. Use me. I'm invisible, remember? I can go places your people can't. Not anymore. You stopped being invisible the moment you walked into that restaurant. Everyone saw the raid. Everyone knows Jaewon was targeting someone I care about. He reached across the counter, his hand finding hers. You're visible now, Mia. Very visible. Which makes you very vulnerable. Then teach me. Like you were going to before. Teach me how to survive in your world. This isn't a game. I know it's not a game. People died last night. More will die before this is over. He squeezed his hand. But I'm already in this. Hiding won't change that. So either teach me how to protect myself or accept that I'm going to try anyway and probably get myself killed through ignorance. He stared at her for a long moment. You're really not going to let this go. Would you? If you were me. No. A reluctant smile. But I'm also insane, so that's not a good comparison. Then we're both insane together. Apparently. He finished his coffee, set the cup down with careful precision. If I agree to this, and that's a big if, you follow my rules. Exactly. No improvising, no heroics, no deciding you know better than my security team. Agreed. And you accept that I'm going to be overprotective. Suffocatingly so. Because losing you, he stopped, his throat working. I can't lose you, Mia. Not after everything. The raw honesty in his voice made her breath catch. You won't lose me. I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. Then don't make this harder than it has to be. Just. She moved around the counter, settling into his space. Just trust me. The way I'm trusting you. His arms came around her automatically, pulling her close. This is a terrible idea. Most good things are. He huffed something that might have been a laugh. My father would have liked you. You argue like he did. All quiet logic and devastating truth. Tell me about him. Your father. Dae-Jung was quiet for a moment, his chin resting on top of her head. He was hard. Fair. He believed in honor even in this world where honor gets you killed. He used to say that the moment you compromise your principles for convenience, you stop being a man and become just another animal. Sounds like he was a good man. He was the best man I've ever known. And I watched him die because he trusted someone he shouldn't have. Viktor Romanov came to him with a peace offering. A chance to end decades of violence between our families. My father believed him. His voice went flat. The meeting was supposed to be neutral ground. No weapons. Just talking. But Viktor brought a gun hidden in his jacket. Shot my father 3 times while I was standing right there. Oh God, Dae-Jung. I was 19. Unarmed. Unprepared. Viktor's men held me down and made me watch him bleed out. His arms tightened around her. My father's last words were in Korean. He said, "Don't become what they are. Don't let revenge poison you into something I wouldn't recognize." But you did become it anyway. I had to. To survive. To protect what he built. To ensure no one ever thought the Kang family was weak enough to target. He pulled back slightly, looking down at her. And then my wife betrayed me with that same man's brother. Like the universe was laughing at my father's dying wish. Your father told you not to let revenge poison you. But he never said don't seek justice. Justice and revenge look the same when you're the one pulling the trigger. Maybe. But only you know the truth of your intentions. And I don't think you're as poisoned as you believe. You're determined to save me, aren't you? I'm determined to stand beside you. There's a difference. He kissed her then, soft, almost gentle, like she was something precious he was afraid of breaking. When they broke apart, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression darkening. What is it? Eugene. She found something. He showed her the screen. A surveillance photo of Jae-won entering a building in Gangnam. One of his safe houses. And he's not alone. The second photo showed Alexei Romanov. They're meeting again. Already. Mia studied the image. That was fast. They're planning their next move. Which means I need to move faster. He typed rapidly on his phone, then pocketed it. I need to go. Eugene will take you to the Itaewon property. She'll also set you up with everything you need. New phone, new ID, new everything. When will I see you again? Tonight. After I handle this. He cupped her face, his thumbs stroking her cheekbones. Stay safe. Stay invisible. Mia. If anything feels wrong. If anyone approaches you, if you see anything unusual, you call me immediately. Understand? I understand. Promise me. I promise. He kissed her one more time, then walked away without looking back. Mia stood in the empty penthouse, wrapped in his robe, watching Seoul sprawl beneath her like a living thing. She'd thrown herself into a war between gangsters and Russians. She'd slept with a man who killed people without hesitation. She'd promised her loyalty to someone the entire city feared. And somehow, impossibly, it felt right. Like she'd finally found where she belonged. Even if that place was beside a monster trying desperately to remember he was once a man. Itaewon's safe house afternoon. The property in Itaewon was nothing like Dae-Jung's minimalist penthouse. This was a traditional hanok tucked behind modern storefronts. Curved tile roof, wooden beams, a small courtyard garden that somehow survived despite the urban chaos surrounding it. Beautiful. Unexpected. Hidden in plain sight. Boss bought this 3 years ago, Eugene explained as she led Mia through the entrance. Said he needed a place that felt like home. Somewhere that remembered what Korea was before it became this. She gestured vaguely at the city beyond the walls. Inside, the traditional architecture gave way to modern security. Cameras in every corner, reinforced doors, bulletproof windows disguised as traditional paper screens. A panic room hidden behind a bookshelf. Weapons cache under the floorboards. You live like this? Mia asked. Always waiting for attack? We live like this so we survive long enough to die of old age instead of bullets. Yijin pulled out a new phone, latest model already programmed. This is yours. Boss's number is saved. So is mine. Emergency protocols are in the Notes app. Read them. Mia took the phone, feeling its weight. How long have you worked for him? 6 years. Since I was 22. Yijin moved to the kitchen, started preparing tea with efficient movements. I was working security at a club in Hongdae when Russians tried to muscle in on the territory. Boss came personally to handle it. I watched him kill 3 men with his bare hands to protect staff who couldn't protect themselves. That made you loyal? That made me curious. Everyone said Kang Dae-Jung was a monster. But monsters don't risk themselves for minimum wage bartenders and waitresses. She poured tea into delicate cups. So I asked for a job. He said no. I asked again. He said I'd die. I told him everyone dies eventually, might as well die for something that matters. What did he say? He said I reminded him of his father. Stubborn. Idealistic. Doomed to disappointment. Yijin's smile was sharp. Then he hired me anyway. Best decision I ever made. Even though it means living in constant danger? Especially because of that. Normal life is safe and boring and meaningless. This, she gestured at the safe house, at the life they led. This matters. We protect people who can't protect themselves. We maintain order in chaos. And we do it for someone who actually cares about honor in a world that's forgotten what the word means. Mia sipped her tea, studying the woman across from her. You love him. Not romantically. But yes, I love him. Like a brother. Like family. Yijin's dark eyes were intense. Which is why I need to know your intentions are genuine. Because if you hurt him, if you betray him like his wife did, I will kill you myself. Slowly. The threat was delivered with such casual certainty that Mia believed every word. I'm not going to betray him. Everyone says that. Until the price gets high enough. Then I guess you'll have to trust that my price is higher than what his enemies can offer. Yijin studied her for a long moment. Then surprisingly she smiled. Boss said you were smart. I see why he likes you. He said he's falling for me. He told you that? Yijin's eyebrows rose. That's significant. Boss doesn't do feelings. Hasn't since his father died. His marriage was strategic, loveless. He went through the motions because the family needed the alliance. But with you, she paused. With you I see him actually present. Actually alive instead of just surviving. Is that good or bad? Depends on whether you survive what's coming. Yijin's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned. Speaking of which, boss wants you at a meeting tonight. What kind of meeting? The kind where he officially claims you in front of the family council. Where he makes it clear you're under his protection and anyone who touches you answers to him personally. Yijin set down her cup. It's ceremonial, political, and extremely dangerous. Why dangerous? Because half the council is probably sympathetic to J1. Because the Russians have spies everywhere. Because putting you in a room with Seoul's most powerful crime lords is basically painting a target on your back and asking them to shoot. Yijin met her eyes. But if you don't attend, it shows weakness. Shows boss is hiding you because he's afraid. And in this world, fear is blood in the water. So I have to go. You have to go. And you have to look like you belong there. Like you're not terrified. Like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, at boss's side. Yijin stood. Which means we need to get you ready. Dress, makeup, jewelry, the whole performance. I don't have anything appropriate for. Boss already handled it. Designer sent over options an hour ago. She gestured toward one of the bedrooms. Go. Choose something that makes you feel powerful. You're going to need it. The transformation. The bedroom looked like a boutique had exploded inside it. Dresses in every style imaginable, all in Mia's size. Shoes that probably cost more than her grandmother's surgery. Jewelry that sparkled under the lights like captured stars. Yijin helped her sort through options, discarding anything too revealing, too innocent, too Western. You need to look Korean, she explained. Traditional but modern. Expensive but not gaudy. Like you understand the culture you're stepping into. They settled on a hanbok-inspired dress in deep midnight blue. Traditional silhouette with a modern cut, silk that whispered with every movement. The color matched Dae-Jung's suit from last night. Deliberate, Probably. Makeup was natural but precise. Hair swept up in an elegant twist, secured with a hairpin that Yi-Jin casually mentioned was also a weapon. Press here, blade releases. Aim for the throat or eyes. You're serious. Always. In that room tonight everyone will be armed. You should be too. She handed Mia a small clutch purse. Pepper spray in the lining. Taser disguised as a compact. And this, she pulled out a delicate bracelet. GPS tracker. If something goes wrong we'll find you. Mia fastened the bracelet, feeling its weight. Has something like this happened before? Someone targeting whatever I am. Boss's woman? Yes. Twice. Both ended badly for the women involved. Yi-Jin's expression was grim. Which is why Boss never got close to anyone after his wife's betrayal. Until you. What happened to them? The other women. One was kidnapped by a rival gang. Used as leverage. Boss paid the ransom, got her back. She left Korea the next day, never spoke to him again. The other. Yi-Jin paused. The other was an inside job. Someone Boss trusted. She died because he didn't see the betrayal coming. And he blames himself. Of course. That's who he is. He carries every death, every failure, every betrayal like weights around his neck. She met Mia's eyes. You need to understand that loving him means accepting that weight too. Accepting that people will die because of decisions he makes. That blood will be spilled in his name. That the world he lives in doesn't forgive or forget. I understand. Do you? Because once you walk into that meeting tonight, once you sit beside him in front of the council, there's no going back. You become part of this world permanently. No escape. No do-overs. Just survival or death. Mia looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back was someone she barely recognized. Elegant, expensive, dangerous in silk and cosmetics. But beneath the transformation she was still Chen Mei-ling from a small apartment in Dongdaemun. Still the granddaughter who'd served drinks to survive. Still the woman who'd thrown a rope to a drowning man. I'm ready, she said. No, you're not. But you will be. Yi-Jin checked her watch. Car arrives in 20 minutes. Boss will meet us there. Until then, I need you to memorize names and faces. She pulled out a tablet, showed Mia photos of various men. Old, young, Korean, foreign. All dangerous. This is the family council. 12 members, all with their own territories, their own armies. Some are loyal to Boss. Some are waiting for him to show weakness. And some are actively working against him. How do I know which is which? You don't. That's the game. Everyone smiles. Everyone bows. Everyone pretends they're not planning murder. Your job is to sit quietly, look confident, and let Boss handle politics. That's it. Just sit there. Just sitting there beside him looking like you belong, is the most powerful statement you can make. It says Boss isn't afraid. It says he trusts you enough to bring you into his world. It says anyone who touches you dies. Yi-Jin's smile was sharp. In this world, symbols matter more than words. You're his symbol tonight. His declaration that he's still in control despite everything. Mia studied the faces on the tablet, committing them to memory. Names. Territories. Allegiances. By the time the car arrived, she could identify every council member and recite their basic history. Impressive, Yi-Jin said as they walked to the waiting vehicle. A black Mercedes with tinted windows. Boss chose well. Chose what? Someone smart enough to survive. Strong enough to stand beside him. Brave enough to try. The drive to the meeting was silent. Mia watched Seoul pass by the windows, familiar streets rendered foreign by her new context. She'd walked these neighborhoods as invisible staff. Now she was riding through them as a crime lord's chosen woman. The world hadn't changed. She had. The council meeting. The meeting location was a restaurant Mia recognized. Magunghwa, 5-star traditional Korean. The kind of place where presidents dined and deals that shaped the country were made over bulgogi and soju. But tonight the restaurant was closed to the public. Private event. Security was everywhere. Men in dark suits with earpieces, hands never far from weapons. They checked IDs with facial recognition software, swept for listening devices, created layers of protection that made the location feel less like a restaurant and more like a fortress. Yi-Jin walked Mia through the entrance. Upstairs to a private room on the 3rd floor. Traditional floor seating, low table already set with food and drink. 12 cushions arranged in a semicircle. 11 were occupied. The men, and they were all men, Mia noted, turned as she entered. The assessment in their eyes was immediate and thorough. Not sexual, not exactly. More like wolves evaluating a new creature in their territory, deciding if it was prey or predator. Then Dae-Jung stood from his position at the head of the table, and every eye shifted to him. He looked like power incarnate. Charcoal suit perfectly tailored, hair swept back, expression carved from stone. But when his eyes found Mia's, something softened imperceptibly. Pride. Possession. Promise. Gentlemen, he said in Korean, his voice carrying absolute authority. Thank you for coming on short notice. I'd like to introduce Chen Mei-ling. She's under my personal protection, and I expect she'll be treated with the same respect you show me. The statement landed like a stone in still water. One of the older men, Park Sung-ho, Mia remembered from her study session, controlled shipping through Busan, leaned forward. This is highly irregular, Dae-Jung. Bringing an outsider to council meeting. A woman with no family connection, no status. She has my status, Dae-Jung interrupted, his voice dropping to something dangerous. My protection. My name. That's all the status required. Your father never. My father is dead. I lead this family now. And I'm telling you she's under my protection. Is that unclear? Park bowed his head slightly, backing down. But the disapproval in his expression remained. Dae-Jung gestured to the empty cushion beside him. Mia. Please. She walked across the room, not hurrying, not hesitating, and settled beside him with the grace Eugene had drilled into her. The silk of her dress whispered against the floor. Better, Dae-Jung murmured in English, so quiet only she could hear. You look like a queen. I feel like an imposter. Same thing. The trick is not letting them see the fear. He switched back to Korean, addressing the council. We have business to discuss. Jae-won's betrayal. The Russian incursion. And how we're going to eliminate both threats before they destroy everything my father built. Another council member spoke. Lee Min-jun, Gangnam Territory, early 50s. With respect, perhaps we should discuss why Jae-won felt the need to ally with Russians in the first place. He was your mentor. Your father's closest friend. Men like that don't betray without reason. The reason is greed, Dae-Jung said flatly. Jae-won wants control he hasn't earned. Alexei Romanov wants access to Korean markets he can't get legitimately. Together they think they can dismantle what we've built and divide the spoils. Or, Lee continued carefully, Jae-won believes you're not fit to lead. That you've become too isolated, too paranoid, too willing to start wars over personal grudges. Personal grudges? Dae-Jung's voice went cold. Viktor Romanov killed my father. Alexei is his brother. And Jae-won conspired with both to destroy this family. That's not personal. That's survival. Your wife is dead. By Russian hands. Because she knew too much and became a liability. Dae-Jung leaned forward, his gaze pinning Lee in place. Are you questioning my judgment? Or are you questioning your own loyalty? Lee paled. I would never. Then support me. Help me eliminate the threats. Or step aside and let men with spines handle it. The room fell silent. Park spoke again, his voice measured. What exactly are you proposing? Jae-won is hiding in one of 3 locations. We have intelligence narrowing it down. I'm planning a simultaneous strike on all 3. Take him alive if possible. Dead if necessary. But I want him to answer for his crimes in front of this council. And the Russians? Alexei Romanov dies. His organization is dismantled. Any Korean who aided them is given one chance to swear new loyalty. Those who refuse. Dae-Jung's smile was cold. We make examples of them. This will start a war, another council member said, Choi Dong-wook in Incheon ports. The Russian Bratva has deep connections. Killing Alexei brings his entire organization down on us. They're already at war with us. I'm just making it official. Dae-Jung pulled out his phone, projected an image on the wall. Surveillance footage of Alexei meeting with known Russian enforcers. This was taken yesterday. He's building an army. Planning a major offensive. We can wait for him to strike first and die defending. Or we can strike first and survive. The council members exchanged glances. Political calculation happening in real time. Finally, Park spoke. If we do this, If we support your war against Jaewon and the Russians, what assurances do we have that you won't become the tyrant he claims you are? That this won't be the first of many purges? You have my word. Your wife had your word. Look how that ended. Dae-Jung's hand clenched on the table. Mia saw the fury flash across his face, watched him fight for control. Before he could respond, she did something that made Yi-jin, watching from the doorway, inhale sharply. She spoke. With respect, councilman, Mia said in Korean, accented but clear, you're comparing a political arrangement to a promise made in front of witnesses. Dae-Jung's marriage was strategy. This council is family. The difference matters. Every eye turned to her. The shock was palpable. An outsider, a woman, speaking unbidden at a council meeting. Park's expression darkened. You overstep. She speaks truth, Dae-Jung interrupted, his hand finding Mia's under the table and squeezing. Warning or gratitude, she couldn't tell. My marriage was business that became betrayal. But this family, you men who served beside my father, who helped build what we have, you deserve better than to be compared to a wife who sold us out to our enemies. Pretty words, Lee said. But words don't stop bullets. What's your timeline? How many men do you need? And what happens if your intelligence is wrong and Jaewon isn't where you think he is? Then we keep hunting until we find him. But we will find him. And when we do, Dae-Jung's voice went flat. I will personally execute him for his crimes. In front of all of you. So there's no question about justice being served. And if he kills you first? Choi asked quietly. If this goes wrong and you die, who leads? The question hung heavy in the air. Succession. The eternal problem. Dae-Jung had no children. No siblings. His father's line ended with him. If I die, he said slowly, the council elects new leadership according to my father's protocols. Vote is taken, majority rules, transition happens peacefully. Same as it would if I retired or was incapacitated. And her. Park gestured at Mia. What happens to your companion if you die? She walks away. Free. With enough money to live comfortably anywhere in the world. No obligations. No revenge expected. She's not part of this world unless I'm alive to protect her. Mia's throat tightened. He'd planned for her survival even in his death. Had made sure she'd be safe. Generous, Park said, though his tone suggested anything but approval. Some might say too generous for someone you've known less than a week. Some might say it's none of your business how I choose to protect people I care about, Dae-Jung replied coldly. No. Do I have your support for the operation against Jaewon? Or do I handle it myself and remember who stood with me when it mattered? The threat was subtle but clear. Support me now or be considered disloyal later. One by one the council members nodded their assent. All except Lee Min-jun, who stood instead. I can't support this, he said quietly. I think you're making a mistake. I think Jaewon's grievances have merit. And I think rushing into war with the Russians will destroy us all. Then you're resigning from the council? Dae-Jung's voice was dangerously calm. I'm exercising my right to dissent. Your father allowed it. Will you? The room held its breath. Dae-Jung stared at Lee for a long moment. Then surprisingly he nodded. You're right. My father did allow dissent. He believed in debate, in hearing opposition, in making sure decisions were sound. He stood and the movement was fluid despite the tension. So I'll allow it too. You may dissent, Lee. You may argue against this action. But if you actively obstruct it, if you warn Jaewon or aid the Russians, you become the enemy. Understand? Lee bowed deeply. Understood. I dissent, but I won't betray the family. Then we have no problem. Dae-Jung gestured to the door. You're excused from this meeting. The rest of us have a war to plan. Lee left, and the moment the door closed, the temperature in the room shifted. He'll warn Jaewon, Choi said flatly. You know that, right? I'm counting on it, Dae-Jung replied. Lee is loyal to the old ways, to the idea of what this family was. But he's not a traitor. He'll tell Jaewon that we're coming, yes. But he'll also tell him to surrender. To face judgment honorably instead of hiding like a coward. And if Jaewon doesn't listen? Then Lee will have tried to save him, his conscience will be clear, and will kill Jaewon anyway. Either way we win. Park actually smiled. Your father would be proud. That was a masterful play. My father taught me that dissent isn't the same as betrayal. And that giving your enemy advance warning can be just as effective as surprise, because it forces them to make panicked decisions that reveal their true intentions. Dae-Jung sat back down, his hand finding Mia's again. Now, let's discuss logistics. I want 3 teams hitting all 3 possible locations simultaneously. The meeting continued for another hour. Mia sat quietly, listening to men plan violence with the same casual efficiency as business executives planning a merger. Strike times, asset allocation, contingency protocols, acceptable casualty rates. By the time it ended, she understood why Dae-Jung carried such weight. These men respected him, yes, but they also feared him. And in this world, fear equaled power. The council members filed out one by one, each bowing to Dae-Jung, several nodding to Mia with newfound, if grudging, respect. When they were alone except for Yi-jin at the door, Dae-Jung turned to Mia. You spoke out of turn. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was perfect. Showed them you're not just decoration. That you understand the game. He pulled her closer, his forehead touching hers. But next time warn me first. I nearly had a heart attack. You didn't show it. Years of practice. He kissed her softly. You were magnificent. Terrifying and magnificent. I just said what needed to be said. That's what makes you dangerous, Mia. You see truth and speak it even when silence would be safer. His thumb traced her jawline. My father had that same quality. Got him killed eventually. But it also made him the best man I've ever known. I don't want to get you killed. Too late. I was dead the moment I decided to go to war with my mentor and the Russian Bratva. You just gave me a reason to fight harder to survive. Yi-jin cleared her throat. Boss, we need to move. Hell just came in. Jaewon is at location 2, the warehouse in Seocho. Lee already called him just like you predicted. Jaewon's preparing to run. How long until he's mobile? 30 minutes. Maybe less. Dae-Jung stood, pulling Mia up with him. Get her back to the safe house. Full security. No one in or out except team members. Wait, Mia said. You're going after him now? Tonight. Best time. He's panicked, making mistakes. If we wait, he'll disappear into a hole we'll never find. Dae-Jung cupped her face. I need to end this. Before he hurts anyone else. Before the Russians use him to destroy everything. Then let me come with you. Absolutely not. Not into the fight. But nearby. In the car. Where I can. She struggled for justification. Where I can be ready if you need me. Need you for what? You're not trained for this. I'm trained to see things other people miss. To read situations. To know when something's wrong. She met his eyes. You said I'm your bridge to the normal world. Your different perspective. Use me. Dae-Jung looked at Yi-jin. Tell her this is insane. It's insane, Yi-jin agreed. But she has a point. Different perspective can save lives. And keeping her in the safe house doesn't guarantee safety if things go wrong. You're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side. Which is why I'm telling you that bringing her in the tactical vehicle, armored and guarded, is actually safer than leaving her somewhere static where Jaewon's people could find her. Yi-jin pulled out her phone. Security team can protect a moving target better than a stationary one. Dae-Jung closed his eyes, fighting with himself. If I agree to this, and that's a massive if, you stay in the vehicle. You don't exit for any reason. You wear body armor. And if things go wrong, you run. No heroics. No trying to help. Just survive. Understood. Understood. Swear it, Mia. Swear you'll run if I tell you to. She wanted to argue. Wanted to say she'd never abandon him. But the desperation in his eyes made her throat tight. I swear. Good. He kissed her hard, desperate. Let's go end this. The warehouse, Sicho. The warehouse district at night was a landscape of shadows and shipping containers. Industrial. Isolated. Perfect for the kind of violence about to unfold. Mia sat in the armored Mercedes, wedged between Yi-jin and another guard named Taemin. Body armor bulky under her elegant dress created a surreal contradiction. Silk and Kevlar, beauty and brutality. Through the tinted windows she watched Dae-Jung's team assemble. 20 men all armed, moving with military precision. They'd done this before. Many times. Dae-Jung stood at the center, orchestrating. He changed into tactical gear. Black, functional, terrifying. This was the monster everyone feared. The crime lord who'd built an empire on violence. But Mia saw the man underneath. The one who'd held her last night. Who'd promised to protect her grandmother. Who'd given her a future when she'd had none. First time? Eugene asked quietly. First time what? Watching someone you care about walk into danger. Does it get easier? No. You just get better at hiding the fear. Eugene checked her weapon. Compact, lethal. Boss is good at this. Best I've ever seen. But everyone's luck runs out eventually. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be honest. She met Mia's eyes. If things go wrong, if boss goes down, Taemin will get you out. You don't argue. You don't fight. You let him do his job. And if Dae-Jung needs help, then we help him. But you don't. You're too important to risk. Important how? You're the reason boss wants to survive tonight. That makes you the most important person here. Eugene's expression softened slightly. Before you he was going through motions. Surviving but not living. You gave him something to fight for beyond revenge and empire. Don't underestimate how valuable that is. Before Mia could respond, Dae-Jung approached the vehicle. Eugene rolled down the window. We're moving in 3 minutes, he said. Standard breach protocol. I want her vehicle positioned at exit point 3. If J1 runs, that's his most likely route. Understood, boss. Dae-Jung's eyes found Mia's. Remember your promise. I remember. Good. He reached through the window, squeezed her hand once. When this is over, we're taking a vacation. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one is trying to kill us. I'll hold you to that. Please do. He released her hand, stepped back. Became the commander again. Move out. The Mercedes rolled forward, taking position at a side street that offered clear view of the warehouse's rear exit. Through the windshield, Mia watched Dae-Jung's team approach the main entrance. Silent. Professional. Deadly. Then all hell broke loose. The ambush. The explosion came from inside the warehouse, not outside where Dae-Jung's team was breaching. A massive fireball that blew out windows and sent debris raining down. That's not ours. Eugene shouted, already on her radio. Boss, report. Boss. Static. Then gunfire, automatic weapons, dozens of them. This wasn't a raid anymore. It was a battlefield. Trap, Taemin said grimly, putting the Mercedes in gear. Jaewon knew we were coming. Set up an ambush. Through the smoke and chaos, Mia saw figures moving. Too many to be just Dae-Jung's team. Russians. Korean gangsters loyal to J1. All converging on the warehouse. Where's Dae-Jung? Mia demanded. Inside. With his breach team. Eugene was typing frantically on her tablet, trying to access security feeds. Damn it, they killed our cameras. I'm blind. We have to help him. We have to get you out of here. Taemin started reversing. Boss's orders. If things go wrong. Stop. Mia grabbed his arm. Look. At the warehouse's rear exit, the one they'd been covering, a figure stumbled out, backlit by flames. Moving wrong. Injured. He collapsed against a shipping container, one hand pressed to his side. Blood streaked his tactical gear. Boss is down. Eugene was already moving, weapon drawn. Taemin, cover. I'm going. Wait. Mia's voice cut through the chaos. That's what they want. You run out there, you're exposed. Easy target. We can't leave him. I'm not saying leave him. I'm saying be smart. Mia pointed. 2 snipers. Rooftop at 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock. They're waiting for someone to try to rescue him. Eugene stared at her. How did you? I worked 3 years watching people position themselves for advantage. Dae-Jung taught me to see patterns. Mia's mind raced, bartender instincts merging with survival necessity. They're using him as bait. But they didn't account for the smoke. If Taemin creates more cover, thermal grenades, something that blocks visibility, you can reach him while they're blind. That could work, Taemin said slowly. But someone needs to draw their fire first. Make them waste shots so we know exact positions. I'll do it, Mia said. No. I'm wearing body armor. I stay in the vehicle. I just need to be visible long enough for them to shoot. You track muzzle flash, return fire, Eugene gets Dae-Jung. She met their eyes. It's the only way. Yijin looked like she wanted to argue. Then she checked her tactical display, saw 2 more of their people go down and made a decision. 30 seconds. I'm going to regret this. She grabbed thermal grenades from her tactical bag. Taemin on my mark. Mia's hands shook as she moved to the passenger seat. The plan was simple. Stupid. Possibly suicidal. Open the door. Provide target. Survive. Ready? Yijin asked. Yes. 3, 2, mark. Mia shoved the door open, her body protected by the armored frame. She didn't need to expose herself much. Just enough. 2 shots cracked. Both hit the Mercedes, one sparking off the doorframe inches from her head. Got them. Taemin was already returning fire, his rifle barking precise 3-round bursts. Yijin threw the grenades. Smoke and thermal distortion erupted across the warehouse yard, turning visibility to 0. She moved. Mia watched her sprint through the chaos, barely visible through the smoke. Watched her reach Dae-Jung, haul him up with surprising strength, start dragging him back toward the vehicle. Then a figure emerged from the smoke behind them. Blonde. Moving with predatory grace. Alexei Romanov. He had a gun pointed at Yijin's back. Mia didn't hesitate. She grabbed Yijin's backup weapon from the tactical bag. A compact pistol, safety already off, aimed through the open door and fired. 3 shots. Center mass. Exactly like Dae-Jung had taught her in that wine cellar fantasy she'd never actually lived but somehow remembered anyway. Alexei staggered. Looked down at his chest in surprise. Looked up at the Mercedes. Mia. Recognition flashed across his face. Then he fell. Yijin reached the vehicle, shoved Dae-Jung into the back seat. Go go go. Taemin floored it, tires squealing. Mia tumbled into the back with Dae-Jung, her hands immediately going to his wound. Blood soaked his tactical gear hot and too much. Stay with me, she said, pressing hard on the injury. Dae-Jung, stay with me. His eyes opened. Unfocused but aware. Mia? What, did you just? Shot a Russian mob boss. Yes. We can discuss it later. She stripped off her silk scarf, wadded it against his wound. Where are you hit? Ribs. Maybe lung. Can't. He coughed, blood flecking his lips. Can't breathe right. Hospital, Yijin said from the front seat. Taemin, St. Mary's. Boss has doctors there. No. Dae-Jung grabbed Mia's wrist. Too obvious. They'll expect that. You're bleeding out. Safe house. Itaewon. Secure room. Medical supplies. He coughed again, worse this time. Yijin knows. Doctor will come there. Boss. That's an order. He looked at Mia and despite the pain, despite the blood, his eyes were clear. You shot Alexei. I had to. He was going to kill Yijin. Did you kill him? I don't know. I didn't wait to check. Good. His hand found hers, gripped tight. Good. You survived. You were smart. He stopped, his body seizing with pain. Save your strength, Mia said, tears streaming down her face. Just hold on. Please. Just hold on. Not dying. Not yet. He managed a weak smile. Made you a promise. Vacation. Somewhere quiet. You're taking me on that vacation. You understand? You don't get to die. Yes, ma'am. His eyes started to close. No. Stay awake. Stay with me. Dae-Jung. Itaewon safe house, emergency surgery. The doctor arrived 14 minutes after they did. A middle-aged woman named Dr. Chen who asked no questions and worked with efficient grace. The secure room in the safe house became an operating theater. Sterilized instruments laid out on towels. 4 lines established. Dae-Jung unconscious on the table, his breathing shallow and wrong. Collapsed lung, Dr. Shin confirmed. Bullet fragments in the intercostal space. I need to remove them and reinflate the lung. This will take time. How much time? Mia asked. 2 hours. Maybe 3. She looked at Mia's blood-soaked dress, her shaking hands. You should clean up. I'll call you if anything changes. I'm not leaving him. Then sit. Quietly. Don't interfere. Mia sat in the corner, still wearing the ruined dress and body armor, watching Dr. Shin work. Yijin stood guard at the door, on her phone coordinating with the team, getting updates on casualties. 12 dead, she said after one call. Ours and theirs. Jaewon escaped during the chaos. But Alexei, she looked at Mia. Alexei Romanov is confirmed dead. 3 shots, 2 to the chest, 1 to the abdomen. You killed him. The words landed like stones. Mia had killed someone. Taken a life. She waited for the horror, the guilt, the crushing weight of what she'd done. Glad she felt nothing. Numb. He was going to kill you, she said quietly. I couldn't let that happen. I know. And thank you. Yijin sat beside her. Boss was right about you. You're stronger than you look. I don't feel strong. I feel terrified. That's what strong looks like. Being terrified and doing it anyway. She squeezed Mia's shoulder. The shakes will come later. The nightmares. The replay of what happened. But right now your body is in survival mode. Protecting you from processing the trauma. You sound like you know from experience. My first kill was when I was 23. Russian enforcer tried to assault one of our servers. I shot him in the parking lot. Threw up for an hour afterward. Couldn't sleep for a week. Yijin's voice was matter-of-fact. But it got easier. Not the killing. The living with it. Does it ever stop feeling wrong? If it stops feeling wrong, you've become a monster. The fact that it bothers you means you're still human. She stood as her phone buzzed again. Lee Minjun is asking to speak with boss. Says it's urgent. About Jaewon. Can it wait? He says no. Says Jaewon is planning something catastrophic. Tomorrow. And if we don't stop him. She stopped reading the message. Oh no. What? Your grandmother. Jaewon knows where she's being treated. He's threatening to make her collateral unless boss surrenders. Ice flooded Mia's veins. He can't. The hospital is secure. He has people inside. Probably has for weeks. Yijin showed her the message. A photo of Mia's grandmother, asleep in her hospital bed. Recent. Taken from inside the room. He's saying he'll spare her if boss meets him. Alone. Tomorrow at noon. It's a trap. Obviously. But if boss doesn't go. He kills an innocent old woman to make a point. Mia stood, rage replacing numbness. Where is this meeting supposed to happen? Namsen Tower. The same observation deck where you met boss last week. Public place. Lots of witnesses. Makes it harder for boss to bring backup. Or for Jaewon to spring a trap. Unless the trap is boss showing up at all. Leaving the safety of his people. Making himself vulnerable. Yijin's expression was grim. It's a good play. Jaewon knows boss won't let an innocent die. Knows he'll sacrifice himself for your grandmother. Then we don't tell him. What? We don't tell Dae-Jung about this threat until after the surgery. Until he's stable. Mia's mind raced, survival instincts merging with cold calculation. If he knows now, he'll try to leave. To meet Jaewon despite his injuries. And he'll die. But your grandmother. We protect her ourselves. You said you have people at the hospital. Use them. Lock down her room. Move her if necessary. But don't tell Dae-Jung until he's physically capable of surviving whatever comes next. Yijin stared at her. You're prioritizing boss over your own family. I'm prioritizing both. Dae-Jung dying doesn't save my grandmother. It just gives Jaewon everything. She met Yijin's eyes. Can you secure her? Honestly. Yes. I'll pull our best team. No one gets near her room without authorization. Then do it. And don't tell Dae-Jung about Jaewon's threat until Dr. Shin says he's stable. He'll be furious when he finds out. Let him be furious. Better furious and alive than noble and dead. Yijin studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled, sharp and approving. You're learning fast. Boss really did choose well. She left to coordinate security, leaving Mia alone with Dr. Shin's careful surgery and her own spiraling thoughts. She'd killed a man tonight. Was planning to deceive another. Was making tactical decisions about life and death like she'd been doing it for years instead of days. The bartender who'd served drinks and stayed invisible was gone. In her place was someone harder. Colder. Someone who understood that survival required sacrifice. Someone who was becoming exactly what this world demanded. And the terrifying part wasn't the transformation itself. It was how natural it felt. 4 hours later. Dr. Shin emerged from the secure room looking exhausted but satisfied. He'll live, she said. The surgery went well. Lung is reinflated, bullet fragments removed, no major organ damage. He needs rest and antibiotics, but he should make a full recovery. Mia sagged with relief. When will he wake up? Few hours. The anesthesia needs to wear off. She stripped off her surgical gloves. You should rest too. You look like you're about to collapse. I'm fine. You're in shock. Wearing a blood-soaked evening gown and body armor. Not fine. Dr. Shin's voice gentled. Go shower. Eat something. I'll call you when he wakes. Mia wanted to argue. But the doctor was right. She was running on empty, adrenaline fading into bone-deep exhaustion. She showered in the safe house's bathroom, watching blood, Dae-Jung's blood, Alexei's blood, maybe her own, swirl down the drain. Changed into simple clothes Yijin had left. Tried to eat the food someone had brought. The rice tasted like ash in her mouth. Around 3 a.m. Yijin found her sitting in the courtyard garden, staring at nothing. Can't sleep, she asked. Every time I close my eyes I see him. Alexei. The moment he fell. That never goes away. You just learn to live with it. Yijin sat beside her on the wooden bench. Your grandmother is secure. 6 guards rotating shifts. Room is on lockdown. No one in or out without biometric clearance. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Lee Min-jun sent another message. Jae-won is moving up the timeline. Says if boss doesn't meet him by 8 a.m. tomorrow, today technically he starts killing hostages. What hostages? 3 of our people. Ones who were captured during the warehouse ambush. Yijin pulled up photos on her phone. 2 enforcers and 1 civilian. A woman who does accounting for our shipping operations. Mother of 2. Mia's stomach turned. He's going to kill a mother to make a point. He's going to kill all 3 if boss doesn't show. 1 every hour until he does. Can we mount a rescue? We don't know where he's holding them. Could be anywhere in Seoul. Could be outside the city. Yijin's frustration was palpable. Jae-won is smart. He's forcing boss to choose. Sacrifice himself or watch innocent people die because of him. There has to be another way. If there is, I don't see it. She stood, paced the small courtyard. And we're running out of time to figure it out. From inside the safe house, a phone rang. Dr. Shin appeared in the doorway. He's awake. Asking for Mia. Mia rushed inside, her heart hammering. Dae-Jung lay in the recovery bed, pale but conscious. Fur lines snaked from his arms. Bandages wrapped his torso. But his eyes were clear when they found hers. You shot Alexei Romanov, he said. First words. I did. Why? Because he was going to kill Yijin. And by extension kill you. I couldn't let that happen. He stared at her for a long moment. You killed someone to save me. I killed someone to save all of us. Including myself. Because without you, without Yijin, I'd be dead or worse. She sat on the edge of his bed, carefully avoiding his injuries. Don't make it more romantic than it was. I was terrified and desperate and trying to survive. And you were magnificent. His hand found hers, squeezed weakly. How long have I been out? 4 hours. Surgery went well. Dr. Shin says you'll make a full recovery. Good. Because we have work to do. He tried to sit up, grimaced with pain. Jun, where is he? Ding, you need to rest. Where is Jae-won? Each word came out hard. And why do you look guilty? Mia exchanged glances with Yijin, who'd followed her in. Tell me, Dae-Jung ordered. Yao. So they did. The messages. The threats. The hostages. The timeline. By the end, Dae-Jung's face had gone from pale to ashen. My people. He has my people. His voice was raw. And your grandmother is secure. Yijin's best team. He can't touch her. He can try. And if he succeeds, Dae-Jung looked at her. This is my fault. I brought you into this world. Made you a target. Made your family a target. You also saved my grandmother's life. Gave me a future. Gave me, she stopped, the words catching in her throat. You gave me you. And I don't regret any of it. You should. Look what it's cost. It cost me invisibility and ignorance. Both of which I'm happy to lose. She leaned closer. Now tell me how we save your people without getting you killed. There's only one way. I meet Jae-won. Alone. Like he wants. That's suicide. That's leadership. I don't sacrifice my people to save myself. Ever. His grip on her hand tightened. But I'm not going to die. Because I have something Jae-won doesn't expect. What? You. He looked at Eugene. Can you get Mia into Namsan Tower? Different entrance, different time. Position her where she has visual on the observation deck but isn't obvious. Probably. Why? Because Jae-won knows me. Knows how I think. Knows how I fight. He's planned for every move I can make. Dae-Jung's eyes returned to Mia. But he doesn't know you. Doesn't know what you're capable of. Doesn't know you killed Alexei Romanov with 3 shots in 0 visibility. You want me to be your backup. I want you to be my ace. The card Jae-won doesn't see coming. He pulled out his phone with his free hand, texted rapidly. Lee is still sympathetic to the old ways. Still believes in honor. I'm going to use that. How? By challenging Jae-won to settle this the traditional way. Single combat. Him and me. Winner takes control of the family. Loser dies. Eugene sucked in a breath. Boss, you're in no condition. I'm in good enough condition to survive 8 hours of medical treatment. I'll be in good enough condition to fight. His voice was absolute. And if I'm not, then Mia will be there. Positioned. Armed. Ready to do what's necessary. You're asking me to kill your mentor if he's about to kill you. I'm asking you to survive. To make sure Jae-won doesn't win. To protect yourself and everyone I care about. He met her eyes. Can you do that? The weight of the question pressed down like gravity. Could she kill again? Could she watch the man she loved, cared for, needed, fight to the death and potentially lose? Could she pull the trigger on an old man who'd once been family? Yes, she said. I can do that. Dae-Jung's expression softened with something that looked like relief and regret in equal measure. Then we have a chance. Namsan Tower, 7:45 a.m. The observation deck was empty except for Jae-won and 2 of his guards. Mia watched from a maintenance level 1 floor below, positioned behind ventilation equipment that gave her clear line of sight through metal grating. Eugene had gotten her in through a service entrance, dressed as cleaning staff, carrying supplies that concealed a sniper rifle. She'd never fired one before. Eugene had given her a 10-minute crash course. Point. Breathe. Squeeze. Pray. Not exactly confidence-inspiring. But Mia had killed once. She could do it again if necessary. At 7:58 a.m. the elevator chimed. Dae-Jung emerged, moving carefully but steadily. He'd refused the wheelchair Dr. Chen had recommended. Refused everything except basic bandaging and pain medication. He looked like he'd crawled out of hell, pale, bandaged, barely able to stand straight. But his eyes were clear and cold. Jae-won turned and the expression that crossed his face was complex. Regret. Bigger. Something that might have been love underneath everything. You came, he said in Korean. You knew I would. You took my people. Dae-Jung stopped 10 feet away. Where are they? Safe. For now. Depending on how this conversation goes. There's nothing to discuss. You betrayed the family. You allied with Russians. You caused the deaths of good men. Dae-Jung's voice was flat. The only question is whether you die with honor or as a traitor. Honor. Jae-won laughed bitterly. Your father's favorite word. And look where it got him. Dead at a peace table, too honorable to see the knife coming. Viktor Romanov killed him. Not honor. Viktor killed him because your father was weak. Because he believed in outdated concepts like loyalty and mercy. Because he refused to adapt to the new world. Jae-won moved closer. I loved your father, Dae-Jung. But I watched him cling to principles that made us vulnerable. That made us targets. And when he died, I swore I wouldn't make the same mistake. So you decided to destroy everything he built? That was your tribute. I decided to survive. To be practical instead of idealistic. To make the alliances necessary for power instead of dying for abstract concepts. His voice roughened. And yes, I allied with Alexei Romanov. Because the Russians have resources we need. Because the old ways are dying and we needed to evolve or become extinct. Alexei is dead. I killed him. Jae-won froze. You, when? Last night. At the warehouse. Or rather, Dae-Jung's lips curved into a cold smile. Someone I care about killed him. 3 shots. Perfect grouping. He died before his men could save him. You're lying. Alexei had the best protection. He did. It wasn't enough. Dae-Jung pulled out his phone, showed a photo. Alexei's body. Death confirmed by multiple witnesses. Your Russian alliance is over. The Bratva is in chaos without him. And you're alone. Jaewon stared at the photo, his face draining of color. Who killed him? Someone you dismissed as irrelevant. Someone invisible. Someone you never saw coming. Dae-Jung pocketed his phone. The same person who's going to kill you if you don't surrender right now. I'm not surrendering to you, boy. I taught you everything you know. But not everything you know. That was your mistake. Dae-Jung straightened despite the obvious pain. I challenge you. Traditional combat. One-on-one. No guards. No interference. Winner leads the family. Loser dies. The old way. The honorable way. The way my father would have demanded. You can barely stand. You think you can fight me? I think I can survive long enough for you to make a mistake. And when you do, I'll kill you. His voice dropped to something deadly. Or I'll die trying. Either way, this ends today. Between us. The way it should have been from the beginning. Jaewon studied him for a long moment. Then surprisingly he smiled. Your father would have been proud. That's exactly what he would have said. He gestured to his guards. Leave us. Sir. I said leave. This is between family. The guards retreated to the elevator. Mia watched them go, her finger resting on the trigger guard. Not yet. Not unless Dae-Jung lost. Please don't lose. Jaewon and Dae-Jung circled each other slowly. No weapons visible. Just two men preparing to settle decades of history with their hands. I don't want to kill you, Jaewon said quietly. You're like a son to me. I raised you after your father died. I taught you this business. You betrayed me. That's all that matters now. I tried to save you. I tried to make you see that your father's way was suicide. That adapting was survival. But you're too much like him. Too stubborn, too idealistic, too willing to die for principles that don't matter anymore. They matter to me. Then you'll die like he did. Honorably. Uselessly. And I'll rebuild what he started into something that actually endures. Jaewon moved first. Fast for a man his age. Decades of experience translating into efficient violence. He targeted Dae-Jung's injured side. A calculated strike designed to open the wound. Dae-Jung blocked, barely. Countered with a strike to Jaewon's throat. Missed by inches. They broke apart, circling again. You're slow, Jaewon observed. Injured. Dying. You should have stayed in bed. Probably. But then you'd have killed my people. Can't allow that. Noble. Stupid. Jaewon attacked again, faster this time. A combination that drove Dae-Jung backward, each impact making him grunt with pain. Blood bloomed on his bandages. The wounds were reopening. Mia's hands tightened on the rifle. Not yet. He's still fighting. He can still win. But Dae-Jung was losing. Each exchange left him weaker, slower. Jaewon was picking him apart with surgical precision, targeting injuries, exploiting vulnerabilities. Yield, Jaewon said after a particularly brutal exchange left Dae-Jung on one knee. Yield and I'll make it quick. Painless. The way I would for a son. Never. Dae-Jung surged upward, using the last of his strength for a desperate attack. Jaewon sidestepped easily. Grabbed Dae-Jung's arm. Twisted with brutal efficiency. Something cracked. Dae-Jung screamed. And Mia made her decision. Controlled her breathing. Remembered everything Yijin had taught her in those frantic 10 minutes. Point. Breathe. Squeeze. The rifle bucked against her shoulder. The shot was perfect. Jaewon jerked backward, a red blossom spreading across his shoulder. Not lethal. But enough to make him release Dae-Jung. He spun, searching for the shooter. His eyes found the ventilation equipment. Found Mia. You, he said, shocked. The bartender. The nobody. Not a nobody anymore. Mia's voice carried across the observation deck, amplified by acoustics. And not invisible. Let him go. Or what? You'll shoot me again? Kill an old man from hiding. Jaewon laughed, but it was bitter. At least have the courage to face me. I'm not hiding. I'm positioned. There's a difference. He kept the rifle trained on him. Dae-Jung, can you stand? Yes. He struggled upright, cradling his broken arm. Mia, you were supposed to wait. I waited long enough. He was going to kill you. Still might, Jae-won said. He moved toward Dae-Jung despite the shoulder wound, despite the rifle aimed at his head. You're weak. Both of you. Playing at honor while the world burns around you. Just like his father. Then we'll burn together, Dae-Jung said. But you'll burn first. He attacked one more time, not with technique or strategy, just desperate survival instinct. Caught Jae-won off balance. Drove him backward toward the railing. They grappled at the edge, the city sprawling hundreds of feet below them. Let go, Jae-won gasped. Boy, let go. We both fall. Good. Dae-Jung's voice was calm. Accepting. We both fall. We both end. And the family survives without either of us poisoning it further. You're insane. I'm my father's son. He taught me that some things are worth dying for. Family is one of them. Jae-won's face transformed. The anger drained away, replaced by something that looked like sorrow. He would have been so proud of you, he whispered. And so disappointed in me. I know. I'm sorry. For everything. I wanted to survive. To not die like he did. I know that too. They stood there at the edge, the city waiting below, two men bound by love and betrayal and history too complicated to untangle. Then Jae-won did something that shocked everyone. He let go. Just released his grip on Dae-Jung. Stepped backward. Over the railing. No. Dae-Jung lunged, tried to catch him. Too late. Jae-won fell in silence, his expression peaceful. Accepting. And Mia watched Dae-Jung collapse at the railing, broken arm forgotten, staring down at the place where his mentor had disappeared. She was moving before conscious thought, abandoning the rifle, running for the stairs. She burst onto the observation deck just as Yi-jin and the security team arrived. Boss. Yi-jin was already on her phone, already coordinating. Medical, we need medical. But Mia ignored her. She went straight to Dae-Jung, wrapped her arms around him, held him while he shook. He jumped, Dae-Jung whispered. I was going to kill him. But he jumped. Why did he jump? Because he loved you. In his own broken way. And he didn't want you to carry the weight of his death. I already carry it. I carry all of them. My father. My wife. Everyone who's died because of me. His voice broke. How many more before I become exactly what Jae-won said I was? How many more deaths before I'm just another monster? You're not a monster. Monsters don't grieve. They don't question. They don't try to be better. She pulled back, cupped his face. Jae-won made his choice. Alexei made his choice. Your wife made hers. You're not responsible for their decisions. Only yours. And what do I choose now? With Jae-won dead. With the Russians scattered. With my organization fractured. You choose to survive. To rebuild. To honor what your father started by making it better, not by burning it down. She kissed him softly. And you let me help you. Because I'm not going anywhere. You should run far away. Before I destroy you too. Too late. I chose you. All of you. Monster, martyr, and everything between. She managed a broken smile. We survive together or we burn together. I'm good with either. You're insane. You said that already. Multiple times. I'm starting to think you might be right. He laughed. Actual laughter, rough and raw but real. God help us both. God's been suspiciously absent. I think we're on our own. Then we'd better not waste the second chance. He kissed her, desperate and claiming and absolutely necessary. The city sprawled below them, indifferent to their drama. Seoul kept spinning, kept living, kept being exactly what it had always been, beautiful and brutal in equal measure. And somewhere in the chaos, Mia Chen, invisible bartender, nobody from nowhere, became exactly what she'd needed to be all along. Visible. Powerful. Chosen. And utterly, completely, catastrophically in love with a monster who was trying desperately to remember he was a man. Epilogue 6 months later. The villa overlooked the ocean. Somewhere in Thailand, far from Seoul's chaos. White sand beaches. Turquoise water. No violence. No betrayal. Just silence and survival. Mia stood on the balcony, watching sunrise paint the world in shades of pink and gold. Behind her, she heard Dae-Jung emerge from the bedroom, his footsteps still slightly uneven from injuries that had never quite healed right. You're up early, he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Couldn't sleep. Too quiet. I thought that was the point. Vacation. Somewhere quiet. Remember. I remember. It's just strange. Being still. After everything. We earned strange. We earned quiet. His lips brushed her temple. Your grandmother is doing well. Eugene sent photos yesterday. She's walking again. Asking about you. I know. I talked to her on video call. She wants to meet you. Terrifying prospect. She's 5 feet tall and survived raising me. You'll be fine. That's not reassuring. But he was smiling. The council voted. Made it official. I retain leadership. No challenges. Because everyone who would have challenged you is dead or exiled. Harsh. But accurate. He turned her to face him. But also because they saw what we did. How we survived. How we rebuilt. The younger generation is taking over. People who value honor over profit. Who remember what my father stood for. And you're okay with that? Stepping back. Letting others lead. I'm okay with surviving long enough to enjoy what we built. With having time to figure out who I am when I'm not just fighting. His hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. With having you. Here. Safe. Away from everything that tried to kill us. For how long? As long as we want. Months. Years. Forever if that's what it takes to heal. Mia leaned into him, feeling his heartbeat against her back, steady and strong. I killed 2 people, she said quietly. Alexei. And one of J1's guards during the warehouse fight. Eugene told me later. My shots. My responsibility. I know. Does it ever stop feeling wrong? No. But it starts feeling necessary instead of monstrous. You didn't kill for pleasure or power. You killed to survive. To protect people you love. There's a difference. Is there? Or is that just what we tell ourselves to sleep at night? Probably both. He pressed a kiss to her hair. But I'd rather be a monster who protects than a saint who abandons. And if that makes me damned, then at least I'm damned with you. Poetry from a gangster. I'm impressed. My father used to write poetry. Before the business consumed him. Before he forgot how to be anything except strong. Dae-Jung's voice softened. I found his journals. After everything. He wrote about wanting to give it all up. To walk away. To be just a man instead of a monster. Why didn't he? Because walking away meant abandoning people who depended on him. Meant letting chaos consume what he'd built. Meant choosing peace over responsibility. He paused. But he wrote that if he could do it again, he'd choose differently. He'd choose small and safe over powerful and doomed. What would you choose? I'd choose you. Every time. In every version of the world. He turned her to face him fully, his dark eyes intense. I was dying before you walked into my life, Mia. Not physically but spiritually. Becoming exactly what everyone feared. And you, his voice roughened. You reminded me that monsters can become men again if they have a reason. You're my reason. Mia's throat tightened with emotion. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of love. And I'm bad at saying it without making it sound like a threat, so I'm just going to say it plainly. I love you. Completely. Catastrophically. In ways that would terrify any sane person. Good thing I'm not sane anymore. Good thing. He kissed her soft and deep and full of promise. So, what do you want to do today? Besides stand on this balcony and contemplate mortality. I want to swim. I want to eat something that doesn't taste like fear. I want to sit with you and do absolutely nothing productive for hours. She smiled. I want normal. Even if it's only temporary. Normal is overrated. But for you I'll try. They spent the day doing exactly nothing of consequence. Swimming in the ocean. Eating fresh fruit and grilled fish. Lying on the beach while the world continued without them. And for the first time in months, years maybe, Mia felt something approaching peace. Not happiness exactly. They'd seen too much, done too much, survived too much for uncomplicated happiness. But something close to it. Something that felt like a second chance. As the sun set, painting the ocean in shades of blood and gold, Dae-Jung pulled her close. I was thinking, he said carefully. When we go back to Seoul. If we go back. Maybe we don't go back to the same life. Maybe we build something different. Something that honors my father's legacy without repeating his mistakes. Like what? I don't know yet. Something legitimate. Something that helps people instead of just surviving off them. You're smart, Mia. You see things I miss. What would you build if you could build anything? She thought about it, about her grandmother's struggle to afford medicine, about invisible people serving visible ones, about a world that crushed the vulnerable and rewarded the ruthless. I'd build something that protects people who can't protect themselves. Legal aid, medical assistance, education programs. All the things that would have saved my family from becoming desperate enough to accept help from dangerous men. He was quiet for a long moment. That's really good, really meaningful, and probably really boring compared to crime empire management. Boring sounds perfect. Then we'll build boring. Together. When we're ready to go back. And if we're never ready, then we stay here. Build something small instead of something powerful. Choose peace over legacy. Your father would approve. I think he would. I think he'd be proud that his son finally learned what he took a lifetime to understand. That surviving isn't the same as living. And that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. They watched the sun disappear below the horizon, Seoul and its violence feeling very far away. But Mia knew they'd go back eventually. The empire needed guidance. The family needed leadership. And the legacy Dae-Jung's father had built deserved better than abandonment. But for now, for this moment, this sunset, this temporary slice of peace, they could just be two people who'd survived impossible odds and found something worth fighting for in each other. A bartender and a gangster. A nobody and a king. A rope thrown into darkness and the drowning man who'd grabbed it. Both changed. Both damaged. Both desperately, impossibly, beautifully alive. And that, Mia thought as Dae-Jung's arms tightened around her, was more than enough. It was everything. The end. Thank you for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed this dangerous love, hit that like button and subscribe for more dark romance tales. Comment below and tell me, would you have taken the risk? Would you have thrown the rope? Until next time, stay curious, stay fierce, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is give someone hope. Sometimes it saves them. Sometimes it saves you too.